All right, guys. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to the stream. Welcome if you are new. Thank you so much for joining me today. Really appreciate it. We have some topics to talk about as usual. I hope you enjoyed that intro. I just decided to change things up. As you can see, I have decided to change things up in general. But yeah, appreciate you guys joining me today. I see that we have Jake Skew 27 already getting us started with some membership gifting today. He drops a membership onto the community. Jake Skew, thank you so much for that, man. Appreciate all the support as always. So today we have some PlayStation topics to go over and talk about. Not a whole lot going on, but definitely some stuff that I think is worth going over here. First, apparently there is a DualSense V2, which is interesting because I feel like this just came out of nowhere. So we're going to talk about what's going on with the DualSense V2. We are talking about Helldivers. I saw some people thinking that I was going to be playing Helldivers. I wish, but I do not have access to Helldivers yet. I don't think anybody does. But we're going to be talking about Helldivers today. But let me see. We have what else? We are talking about the PlayStation Plus lineup for Extra and Premium. I'll go over that information with you guys, let you know what's going on there. You can give me your opinions on that. We're talking a little bit about Silent Hill 2 Remake again, and we're talking about how apparently Marvel's Spider-Man 2 is the most nominated game at this year's DICE Awards, which is fascinating. Did I save your Super Chats, Orange? You're talking about a milestone chat. It doesn't save those. So what you'll have to do is whatever you said in your milestone chat, say it in the chat now, and I'll read it, okay? I don't know why YouTube doesn't save those, like when I go check my past Super Chats. What's my streaming schedule? Well, when it comes to the time that I start my streams, 12 p.m. Eastern. I mean, on rare occasion, it's not 12 p.m. Eastern, but usually it's 12 p.m. Eastern, like 95% of the time. So yeah, apparently Prince of Persia is getting good reviews, which is interesting. I can't say I'm very interested in Prince of Persia, honestly. Not a game I'm super interested in. Before I dive into any of these topics, just want to let you guys know a couple of ways you can help support my content, help support my channel. Obviously, being here watching, whether you're watching live or later on, thank you so much. Hit that like button. We're almost at 70 likes. Let's see if we can get that up to 100 likes. The easiest way to let me know that you enjoy the content, you enjoy the streams. Ways you can support me directly. You can become a channel member, gain access to the members lounge and some other exclusive perks, support me directly. If you're already a channel member, consider gifting channel memberships. It's a big thing we do here. A lot of very generous community members. If you don't want to do anything with the memberships, then please consider donating a super chat, ask a question, give an opinion, make a statement, anything in between, whatever it is you would like to do in a super chat. Feel free to do that. It helps me a lot. So a big shout out and thank you to this community and to everybody who supports me directly. Without your direct support, I simply wouldn't be able to do what it is that I do here. And I love what I do here. So thank you guys for that. Let me start here really quick. We're going to go over the PlayStation Plus games. I just want to run down this list with you guys, let you know what to expect. If you're a PlayStation Plus Extra or Premium subscriber, this is what you're getting for the month of January. Before that, though, we have Exley 3000 or Exley Trismegistus coming in, dropping 5 membership gifts for the community. Guys, I want to see some W's flowing in the chat for our good friend Exley, showing incredible support stream after stream. Exley, thank you so much, man. Just like that, you guys already brought us up to 6 members on the day. Love to see it. We will be doing a members lounge after today's stream. So hopefully this upcoming members lounge will play out better than the last one. I'm checking to see if Orange didn't respond. All right. So, Exley, thank you so much for that, bud. We're starting here with the PlayStation Plus extra and premium catalog for January. This was announced, I believe, yesterday. Everything is going to be available starting January 16th if you're a PlayStation Plus Extra or Premium subscriber. We're looking at Tiny Tina's Wonderlands Next Level Edition, Resident Evil 2 Remake, a game called Hard Space Shipbreaker, Lego City Undercover, Just Cause 3, Session, Skate Sim, Shadow Tactics, Blades of the Shogun, Vampire the Masquerade Swan Song, Surviving the Aftermath. And then when it comes to PlayStation Premium Classics, we're looking at Rallycross, which is PS5 and PS4, Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, Street Fighter 30th Anniversary Collection, Legend of Mana, Secret of Mana. So there you go. That is the PlayStation Plus Extra and Premium lineup. Again, all becoming available January 16th. I'm not subscribed to Extra or Premium. I'm just subscribed to Essential. So for those who are subscribed to Extra or Premium, what are your thoughts on that? Orange, you're saying, I don't remember what I said exactly, but I mentioned that you didn't talk about the new Patapon UE5 game reveal. Yes, it was confirmed to be a game. It even had button prompts. By the way, I was right about the Gravity Rush 2 remastered leak from a few months ago. It leaked on Sony's website and coming 2024, tying with the movie. By the way, they made wokenized cat in the movie. Interesting. Well, Orange, I'm glad you could get this across because, yeah, I did miss your milestone chat. I did see that. You know, some people were talking about, like, oh, there's a Patapon revival. And obviously they were showing off a little bit regarding the the movie tie-in with oh my god, what's it called? Gravity Rush. Sorry. I'm reading the chat as I'm trying to think here. But yeah, people were talking about that. Sony at CES, I mean, it was fine, I guess. It is what it is. It wasn't anything exciting, but when it comes to games, that's pretty much the closest thing we got to any type of game announcements. Did I see the new details about DS2 targeting a possible fall/winter release window for 2024? I did not see that. No. That would be real. That would be awesome. Where's that info? Where's that info coming from? Did something come out as I started my show? I didn't see anything. So I want to say this. One of the things that Sony announced, and I didn't really talk about this that much at CES 2024, is that the PlayStation platform saw a record high users logged in to the PlayStation Network of 123 million December 2023. What are your thoughts on that? What do you guys think of this? That's across PS5, PS4, and PS3. I think there are at least a couple of million people still playing on PS3, which is wild to think about. At least a couple million. But 123 million, that's a new record for Sony. In 2022, I think they were at like 112 million, 113 million. Devil Shooter, you're saying you don't care? Yeah, I didn't put too much emphasis on this because it's like, well, cool. But maybe, I don't know, maybe it's a little bit more important to recognize or highlight than I originally thought, because it's like, if you think about it, Sony's goal at the end of the day with PlayStation is to increase user engagement numbers. Like, that is the big metric that they're focused on. And I kind of just glossed over this, where it's like, well, they increased it by a significant margin, it seems, by like 10 or 11 million people or accounts or users. So we'll see. I guess the question I have is, like, how big is that for Sony? Like, is that enough growth for Sony? Right? Do they see that as like, oh, we went from 111 to 123 million, or 113 to 123 million, something like that? Is that good for them? It's like a 10, 11 million player increase year over year. I mean, I guess the idea is if you could increase that, if you could keep that up every year, that would probably be considered pretty good growth, or at least decent growth. But we'll see. We'll see. All right, so let's talk about this DualSense V2. Okay, this is being reported by WCCF Tech. Retailer Best Buy has listed a new PS5 DualSense controller version, which is said to include a charging station, as spotted by X or on X by Canadian user Lobbins. The Canadian website of Best Buy mentions the new PlayStation V2 DualSense wireless controller. Take the gaming action into your own hands when you play with the PlayStation 5 V2 DualSense wireless controller. The description of the new version reads, interestingly, though, the listing also mentions an included charging station, which would allow for an easy click-in charging. The new DualSense version is listed with a retail price of 90 Canadian dollars, which converts to about 70 USD. This is the same price as the current DualSense controller version in the US. As much, the mention of the included charger might very well be a mistake from the retailer. Of course, it's also possible that Sony has decided to include a charging station for the same price as the current DualSense controller. The listing also mentions an exceptional 12-hour battery life. This is the same battery life that Sony has boasted for the current model. As such, don't expect the battery inside with this new version to last longer. See, that's weird because I swear I've been seeing people all morning talking about how the battery size has increased for the DualSense. I don't know if there's truth to that. That seemed to be the main focus that everybody was talking about, this DualSense V2. Because, like, I mean, what else? Why else would you call it that? I'm just trying to double check here, see, make sure I didn't miss anything. So, okay, yeah, I'm trying to figure out here with this DualSense V2, is this going to be like a battery upgrade where you're going to get longer battery life, or is it now going to come with a little charging station? Because I don't know which would you prefer at that point? I feel like most people would probably prefer to ship with a charging station, but it's apparently going to be $70. So the price is going to be the same. Also, is that how long the Sony uh they said the DualSense lasts 12 hours? You think 12 hours is still kind of lame? Yeah, to me, it really comes down to whether or not you have a charging station. Like for me, I've had the PlayStation 5 charging station for the DualSense um, since launch. I've had it this entire time, and it's been awesome. I'm glad I bought it because there's never been a time where I ran into a problem with the battery of my any of my DualSense controllers. But I could understand like if you don't have the charging station, right? And you have to plug it in normally, I could understand why that would get really annoying if it is giving you a low battery signal after like 6 or 8 hours or 12 hours. I could see that. But yeah, if I had to guess, this retailer listing, I think it's basically trying to say that this DualSense V2 is going to have a bigger battery capacity. That would be my guess. I don't imagine that they're going to ship a new DualSense version that is essentially the same price and comes with some kind of like charging station or something. There's no way it would stay the same price. Devil Shooter, you're saying you heard no stick drift. That would be great. That would be very welcome. One of the biggest complaints, if not the biggest complaint, regarding the DualSense is the stick drift. I haven't experienced much, but on at least one or two, I think on at least one of my DualSense controllers, I don't know if it's two, I'd have to double check, but on one of them, yes, it very much has stick drift. But we know that Sony, They went all in with the DualSense Edge, $200 premium controller. They didn't really do anything with the regular DualSense, so maybe this is their way of kind of making some very subtle improvements. I baby my controllers. Uh, maybe. I'm not like rough with my controllers or anything. Even when I get pissed off, I don't like slam them down or even with like the sticks themselves, I'm not that aggressive with them. But the controller that I think I got a defective DualSense, honestly. With a while ago, I bought the black DualSense, and the sticks on that are just totally fucked. And I never did anything to it. They're the stick drift is that's the controller I'm referring to. The stick drift is horrible. On all of my other DualSenses though, they're fine. It's just that black DualSense that I bought. I think it was defective. I do try to keep my controllers clean though. Like I don't know. I don't eat food and then touch my controllers. Like if I'm eating food with my hands or something. I remember when I was younger, I would go over like friends' houses and they'd have like PS2s and whatnot, and they'd eat like something really greasy, like fried chicken or something, be all over their hands, and they would just get it all over their controller. Like there would just be oil all over their controller, and they wouldn't do anything about it. They're just like, yeah, this is how I play, and I'm like, there's something wrong with you. I remember being so grossed out by that. Like this is not normal or healthy. Yeah, eating like hot Cheetos or Doritos or something like that. But yeah, that always freaked me out. I think I got to a point where I started bringing my own controller over friends' houses because I was like, I'm not touching that controller, dude. I'm good. Um, you don't eat while you're gaming either. Yeah, I mean the only snack I could realistically eat while gaming because it's easy is like pretzel sticks or something. That's about it. Am I talking about brown sugar? No, 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 no. This is before I even met him. But yeah, take good care of your controllers, guys. DualSense V2. DualSense V2. I don't know if I'm gonna buy it anytime. I mean, we need more information on this. This listing just kind of came up out of nowhere. We have Dragon Bat Spidey with a $5 super chat, and it's his third time super chatting. So thank you for that, buddy. You're saying off topic, but the original 2005 Resident Evil 4 turns 19 today. Wow, man. I didn't know that, and I feel old now. I remember being hyped for Resident Evil 4. I think Resident Evil 4 was the reason I got a GameCube, or at least asked for one. I had a PS2 at the time, and I was like, I need a GameCube because I really, really want to play Resident Evil 4. And I did. And then I eventually got it on PS2 as well. But I remember that, man. That was when I was more into Nintendo. Around the time when Resident Evil 4 was a thing that was being hyped up. I was more into Nintendo. I had a Nintendo Advance SP. Is that what it's called? An SP, right? Like the one that like just kind of flipped open. It was like a clamshell. At that time, I was playing on that. I didn't have a GameCube yet, but I was more into Nintendo, and I remember being really addicted to Pokemon. What were the Pokemon games that were out at that time? The Game Boy Advanced SP. Yeah, I don't know why. What did I call it? The Nintendo Advance. Is that what I call it? The Nintendo Advance? How do I forget the Game Boy name? Jesus. But I was playing that, and I remember specifically, I was in like some kind of summer camp or something. When I say camp, it was like one of these like just schools where you basically were just in the gymnasium all day or playing outside on the equipment. And we were allowed to play our Game Boys. And I remember I got this like book about like upcoming games at the time, and it was actually showing off Resident Evil 4, and the game, it was like the different version of the game. If you know what I'm talking about, like the early version of Resident Evil 4, where there was like actual like supernatural stuff, there was like ghosts or whatnot. And I remember looking at the images and reading about it, and I was like, man, I got to get this game. And then I saw it was a GameCube exclusive, and I'm like, well, I'm gonna have to bug my parents to get me a GameCube. Did I see Intel's new handheld? I did not. Surge 343. So Dragonbat, thank you for the super chat, man. Surge 343 with a $10 super chat says, still on your last stream, but what do you think about the current 86 rating of Lost Crown on PS5? Will you look more into the game now? Thoughts on my top 10 most anticipated of 2023 on X? I mean, it's good that it's getting good reviews, but I can't say that it's like suddenly on my radar because I don't know. Maybe I'll look more into it. Maybe I will. Maybe I'll check out some gameplay. It's just Prince of Persia is a series, like I did play it I think on the PS2, like Sands of Time and stuff like that, and I thought it was pretty cool, but I never like got really deeply into it. You're saying thoughts on your top 10 most anticipated on X? Surge, I don't think I saw that, man. What was on your top 10 most anticipated? Are you I see some guy named Garnish. Or he liked the post. Oh, here we go. Sorry, yeah, this guy who liked it. Your top 10 most anticipated games of 2024, only games with the release dates. So it basically goes up to 6 here. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, Black Myth Wukong, Like a Dragon, Infinite Wealth, Rise of the Ronin, Dragon's Dogma 2, Banishers, Ghost of New Eden. That's a good list, man. You're saying the list is going to change as the year goes on. To me, that's a good list. There's a lot of good games there, I think. Final Fantasy VII Rebirth being number 1, no surprise there. That game's going to be amazing. That game, Banishers, Ghost of New Eden, was on my radar as well, though, but Dragon's Dogma 2, Rise of the Ronin, Like a Dragon. Black Myth Wukong being number 2. Yeah, that's going to be dude, Black Myth Wukong has the potential to be massive. I mean, truly a massive game based off of what we've seen. So it's looking pretty good, man. It's looking good. So Surge, I appreciate that. Maybe, yeah, I'll have to see if I'm going to get into this new Prince of Persia game. Let me go check this out. See if I can find the. Why can't I find it? Metacritic. All right, let's check it. 86, 32 critic reviews. 86 on PS5, 89 on Xbox, 85 on PC, 88 on Nintendo Switch. I mean, I guess it just comes down to, like, what were the expectations exactly for this game? I can't imagine they were, like, super high. Super high expectations. I might look into it. No promises, but I might look into it. Do I notice that all the leakers, insiders have been quiet lately? Tom Henderson, the snitch. Also, I think Black Myth has the potential to be as good or better than Liza P. Yeah, the leakers have been very quiet. Right now, when it comes to PlayStation, I had a feeling this was going to happen starting this year. And what I mean by that is I had a strong feeling that Sony was going to not feel any type of pressure whatsoever to start talking quickly or make any announcements quickly. I mean, granted, we're only 11 days into the year, to be clear. All right. So, it could change. They could have plans for February or March, but I had this this feeling that looking at the lineup of games that Sony has, again, it's irrelevant whether you are excited for them when I say this, because it's just you have to try to see it from Sony's perspective, more of like, I guess, a business perspective, and in terms of like when you want to plan your announcements and whatnot. When I saw how, like, okay, they have like games for each month for the first quarter, and in some months they have multiple games. Like February, they have 2 games that they're going to be marketing heavily for PS5 and making it known they're exclusive to the PS5 console, with Final Fantasy and Helldivers. In March, they have Rise of the Ronin. They also have Dragon's Dogma 2, which is, I mean, that's not a Sony exclusive. That's a multi-plat game, but I'm sure it's going to do well on PlayStation. You know, January, they have The Last of Us. So I just get the feeling that they just don't feel like they have to really say or do much right now, because their first quarter of the year is pretty much covered. So if I had to guess, they might start moving things around internally and talking a little bit more internally as we get closer to, maybe to February and March, and then maybe you could start seeing some of these insiders uh, talking a little bit more. But so something I want to bring up here for a moment is I'm thinking about, like, not, I don't know. I have to put more thought into this before I make any type of decision. Um so I'm not making any claim now like I'm going to do this or do that, but I'm considering not covering any more rumors of PlayStation shows, like, at all. Like, whether it's a state of play or a showcase, I'm considering just not acknowledging rumors in that sense anymore, because it's just, even that's getting overly toxic. Like, it's just annoying me, Like, it's just giving people an excuse to be shitty towards people like me and others, and I just, like, it's not that important to me. Like, it's just a rumor. You're saying I said this many times before. Yeah, but the thing is, I said that prior to Sony having a disappointing showcase. And ever since Sony had that disappointing showcase, my mindset behind it has changed, honestly. When I said it before, I guess what I was trying to say is I would like to not get caught up in the rumors, but now I just don't care. Like, I just, like, for example, Jason Schreier, I guess I'll use him because he's one of the more respected insiders or whatever. He could come out today, give us a date. He could say, like, what, uh, January 25th, Sony's doing a state of play. I don't care, because it's like, what am I supposed to anticipate with that state of play? Knowing that state of plays could be anything. I can't get excited anymore because I have no reason to be excited until Sony themselves come out and say, this is our state of play. This is what we're showing. There you go. And then, oh, okay, sure. Maybe then. But it's just, it's getting to a point with PlayStation where, and I've seen this floating around as well. I've seen people already starting to talk about showcases. And I get it. I'm not going to pretend like I wasn't that guy for a long time. I was. Basically every week it's like, oh, I think there's a new showcase rumor or something. And I'm just like, at this point, even then, I'll wait because even when Sony, here's the thing, even when Sony announces a showcase, I have to keep my expectations lower. I have to, because look at what happened last year, man. You live and you learn. And something I learned last year is that Sony can absolutely have disappointing showcases. I didn't think it was possible, but it happened. And I'm not saying that I anticipate it will happen again, but it's just, it's easy for me to say this now, to be fair. Like, next week, if there's a big showcase rumor, it's like, how the fuck am I not going to talk about that? It's easy for me to say this now. That's why I'm saying I don't want to make a definitive claim. I guess I'm just trying to give you a little bit of insight into my mind right now, which is I don't want to partake in that. I really don't want to because it doesn't matter. It doesn't. When Sony wants to have a show, they'll have one and they'll let us know. You know, that's how it's going to be. That's how it's going to be because it's just like if the, we've had years and years of insiders and rumors and there will be rumors this year, to be clear. Like there are going to be rumors regarding PlayStation that I'm going to cover, but it's just I'm going to be much more picky about what I choose to cover because I'm just tired of it. Like I see this moron on Twitter. I don't even know their name, but they just like using a picture of somebody, and it makes me wonder if this person knows that their picture is being used. And they're claiming to be a fucking insider, and they're sitting here like just trying so desperately to get attention. And it takes everything in me to just not put this person on blast because it's like you're not a fucking insider. You don't know literally anything that's going on at Sony. Please stop. Like, please stop because you are not only are you just lying to people, but you're just adding fuel to the flames that like these flames need to calm down and the fire needs to be put out so we can move on from it. And you get people like this out here who are trying so desperately. Yeah, the guy who says he's from Ben's studio, like, no, you're not, dude. He's not an insider. It's like, when are people need to just realize this. And this is why I'm just getting so annoyed at this point where it's like, I'm just going to stop taking anything for saying I am a little bit irritable today. I found out that the flu, I remember I was telling you guys, like, I feel kind of sick. Mrs. MBG is really sick today. She has the flu. We had the flu. We still have the flu. I guess it didn't hit me that hard. But so if I seem a little bit irritable, that's probably why. So apologies for that. But it is annoying, man. Like, Sony will announce stuff when they're ready. They will. It's as simple. Like, I learned this the hard way last year, dude. Even after the showcase last year, I still wanted to believe there's going to be a second showcase. There has to be. And a lot of people were telling me, they're like, MBG, bro, that's it. Like, they just don't have anything ready to show, man. That's it. Maybe next year. And I held on to that for a little while. And I held on to the rumor. Even last year, we got so many different rumors from different people. Oh, I heard there's going to be a second showcase. There's going to be a second showcase. There was never a fucking second showcase. And it's just, I'm over it at this point. I'm over listening to any insider, any rumors regarding PlayStation shows, PlayStation events, because it just doesn't matter. I wouldn't even be surprised at this point if Sony spites these people. They do things out of spite now. You get an insider that leaks a correct date for a show, Sony will delay that shit by a week just to spite that person. I'm just kidding, of course. I don't know if Sony would ever do that. But it's frustrating, man. It's frustrating because Sony is not in the best position right now in terms of the public. Or when I say the public, I'm talking about the people who are paying attention. The more core circle of gamers. They're not they don't have the best I don't know if reputation's the right word, but they haven't really been living up to, I guess, what people have been hoping for in some cases. And so this is why when Sony does decide to have another show, whether it's a state of play or showcase, it doesn't matter because it's like they have to turn that around. And I think at this point, and I know that I know that there are going to be PlayStation fans or just gamers in general who disagree with this, and that's fine. Like, I'm not telling you have to feel this way. I'm just saying I think it would benefit the situation in general, and that is we just have to lower our expectations. I think, I think that has been made clear after 2023 that it's better. I said you don't have to, but it's best if we lower our expectations, because what we learned last year is that when I make these assumptions that Well, Sony's doing a showcase after a year and a half. Obviously, it's going to be fucking amazing, you know? And then it's just not. It's like, well, what did you learn? When I choose to believe the rumors that begin to float around the month following that disappointing showcase, that Sony's going to do a second one, and I choose to believe that, and then there's no second showcase. Well, what did I learn? What did we learn? When Sony does a September State of Play, which was fine, the September State of Play was fine, but it also was not seen as favorably because they didn't announce anything new. What did we learn? This is why when Sony does another State of Play, I'm not going to get excited because I know what to expect. And that is, well, we're going to see more of what we know. There isn't going to be any first party announcements. And that's okay. Because I guess at this point, that is what a State of Play is. When it comes to the next showcase, am I not going to be, of course I'm going to be excited for it. Like whenever Sony does another showcase, I'm going to be excited for it, but I am going to keep my expectations a lot lower than they were last year. Because you know what? Worst case scenario, it's exactly what I expected. It wasn't as good as I wanted it to be. Best case scenario, Sony fucking shows up and shocks me. And I have every reason to be excited. This is just for me personally, and I just recommend this for some people out there. This is how it's got to be, man. This is how it's got to be. You saying the next showcase should be fire? It should be. I mean, Digital Dude 25 says, what if we get a roguelike mode for Spider-Man 2? Maybe that's why they delayed the update. I'll be honest, at that point, we're going too far. It would be interesting. I mean, the idea of a roguelike mode for Spider-Man 2 sounds interesting, but I don't know that every game needs a roguelike mode, you know? I'm assuming if we get DLC for Spider-Man, well, we are going to get DLC for Spider-Man, but I'm assuming it's going to be more traditional DLC, you know, something very similar to kind of what we saw with Spider-Man 2018. That's my assumption. We have Hellbound 1981. Another legend comes in and drops 5 more membership gifts for this community. Hellbound, thank you so much, my friend. Let's get some W's in the chat. Hellbound brings us up to 11 members on the day. Love to see it. Thank you guys for all your support. Good stuff, Hellbound. Thank you for always being here with Exley and others, always giving out some membership gifts. Means a lot. Gaming Survivor says, MBG tempering expectations is too sane for me to handle. I know, man. Well, see, here's the thing. Here's the problem, I think, sometimes with conversations like this. I think some people interpret what I'm saying as me being negative, like being down on PlayStation, in the sense that there's a difference between saying lower your expectations when it comes to future Sony announcements and shows. There's a difference between that and saying you can't enjoy PlayStation because PlayStation doesn't have any games. You see what I'm saying? And a lot of times you see people try to combine these two things and they're just not the same. I mean, they are linked together to a certain extent where, you know, you can only play new games when those new games are announced and released. But it's just like, I may be lowering my expectations with a State of Play if they end up doing one, or with a showcase. But that doesn't mean I'm not going to thoroughly enjoy the games that are coming my way in the coming months. If I go into a PlayStation showcase this year with low expectations and my expectations are met and Sony does disappoint me, we're going to have some conversations. Oh yeah, we're going to have some conversations. Now, if they don't disappoint me, we're still going to have some conversations. Hopefully the good kind. That's the hope, right? But you got to I feel like last year was there was a change last year that I don't know that it fully registered until later on in the year, but it registered nonetheless. Oh, sorry, Brandon. I'll get to your super chat. I am getting behind again here. But Digital Dude 25, I appreciate that. I do suspect we'll be hearing about Spider-Man 2 DLC sometime in the near future. We have a Crupsy member for 7 months says, I think Sony's going to do a State of Play in February and in May or June, and the showcase will be in September for the PS5 Pro. That again, man, it's anything is possible at this point. They could hold off doing a showcase till the end of the year. They could look, man. I'm just going to be real with you guys. Sony could not do a showcase this year. I think that would be absurd, but that's a possibility. Like, that's a real possibility. I'm not saying that's my expectation. That's not. I would be lying if I said that. I absolutely expect Sony to do a showcase this year, but they could choose not to. It's not unheard of. It's not. It's not unheard of. We've been through this. We went through this where I remember in 2022, it was like, they got to do a showcase, right? Right. And then before you know it, it's December 2022. And it's like, no, they don't. It's like, what? This is crazy. So I don't doubt anything. That's all I'm saying. If you tell me Sony's going to have an amazing showcase in September with the PS5 Pro and amazing games, I'll say, hell yeah. I could see that happening. If you tell me Sony's not going to do a showcase this year and they're going to continue to play it close to the chest and just scrape on by with their partnerships, I could believe that just as easily. It's truly unpredictable at this point. Pyramid says, impossible, MBG. Get a grip. Sony's launching the PS5 Pro. They need a show. They need to show you what you'll be playing. Stop trolling. See, this is where I'm telling you, man. I get that. That what you're saying right there is how I used to feel. Do you see what I'm saying? Like, I used to feel that way. Like, I know for a fact. Like, I know for sure. And time again, the only thing I learned is that, holy shit, I was wrong. That thing I was so sure of that Sony would do or wouldn't do, I was wrong. And so at this point, I just choose to maintain the position of, generally speaking, keep my expectations a little bit lower, but also not assume to know. Dude, I don't know anything that Sony's going to do. I have no fucking idea. And I'm not going to sit here and set myself up for potential disappointment by assuming that if Sony has a showcase, they're going to show me the amazing games I want to see. I don't know that. That's what I want, of course, but I don't know that. And I've been down this road too many times. That's all I'm saying. Because if you ask me, Sony going to have a showcase for the PS5 Pro, I'd say, well, it would make sense. But if somebody else says, no, dude, they're going to show it in a blog post, I believe that too. That's the Sony we're dealing with in 2024, and people need to realize that. They do. Like, they need to realize that Sony is at a point where they absolutely could and will reveal a PS5 Pro in a fucking PlayStation blog. It's not, like, that's not some kind of preposterous, no way, blasphemous, never going to happen thing. That is actually, I would say, more likely. I think that would be a mistake because it's like, Sony, what the hell are you doing? But trust me, man, I've been following PlayStation for like years now, and the level of desperation that I see in certain corners of the internet is like, we need to just move on from this. We do. Like, we need to just stop hyping everything up. I need to stop. I'm not going to tell other people what to do, but I recommend, like, we just need to just accept these things for what they are and stop always looking over the horizon, assuming that what's over the horizon is better, because it might fucking not be. It might not be. And I get kind of annoyed when it's like, dude, we're 11 days into this year and I'm already seeing people talking about showcases and shit. And it's like, please stop. Like, we need to just stop. I'm going to stop. I hope everybody stops because it's just who the fuck cares at this point, man. I'm sorry. I know it's brutal. I know it's intense, but it's like, even if Sony is going to do a showcase, dude, it's months away and we have no clue what that show is going to be like. It does not matter. Now, the one thing I will say, and this is fair, to me, this is fair. Talking about Sony Studios, what they're working on, what they might be working on, this is where I feel differently, where I think it's totally fair to look into that stuff, but also keep in mind that we don't know that much and things could change. To me, that's different. People who want to get excited about, man, like, what is Sony Bend working on? What is Sucker Punch working on? What are the job listings hinting at? What did they said officially? That stuff's different to me because, of course, like, these are gaming studios that are working on games and we are going to see them eventually. But I'm just seeing so many people out there hyping things up, and I've been there many times, and it's become a joke. It has. You're saying, MBG, don't be this negative. Oh, I guess maybe what some people see as negativity, I just see as being realistic in that it's become a joke, guys. It has. Like, the whole secret showcase thing, it's a joke. And the best way to, I would say, calm this down and move on from it is to just accept, maybe not even accept, but just be ready for anything and be open for, to anything happening. You don't have to be a downer and be like, Sony's showcase is going to suck. Sony's going to, like, that to me gets overwhelming too. Or like, people are like, Sony's going to have a horrible year. Do you understand? It's like, pump the brakes. People go too far in either direction. William, you're saying, how is this? I promise you that this year's PlayStation State of Plays and Showcases will be great, rivaling 2015 and 16. Or I'll donate $100 in Super Chat / gift memberships. All right, William, I'll hold you to that. I mean, I hope it is, man. Again, there's hope there, for sure. There's nothing wrong with being hopeful about what could happen. Nas, you're saying I'm breaking your heart? Maybe. I'm not trying to. I'm just trying to have a real honest discussion, in that, like, it's just, this is everything I'm saying is based off of the way Sony operated last year. That's all. It's not just coming out of nowhere. I'm not just saying this for the sake of saying it. I'm saying it based off of the experience I had last year. That's all. Let me see here. We got IP Gaming saying, I wish PS did developer directs / more stated plays. PlayStation's too quiet. It would be nice to hear more from the developers, for sure. It would be. I would love to hear more from the development side of PlayStation. But again, that's just kind of the way Sony operates. They're very, very, very quiet. Very quiet. And yeah, it would. I mean, I feel like PlayStation wasn't always like that. And I'm sure they have their reasons for being like that. Maybe, well, I mean, at least with Insomniac, right? We got a lot of insight there. So you're saying, bro, you had a great year, hoping for another one. No, on the channel, I had a great year. In terms of just analyzing PlayStation and my expectations for them, I wouldn't call 2023 a great year. I would say at best it was a okay year. At worst, it was definitely a letdown in more than one area. That's just me being honest, man. Brandon Martin says, I'm very curious about the Indiana Jones game. The Indian Jones game. Who's Indian Jones? No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, that's apparently something Microsoft's going to be showing off on the 18th, and I'm somewhat curious about it. Like, I'm interested in seeing how it turns out. Again, I'm not a big fan of Indiana Jones, but it's like if it looks good, if it looks really good, yeah, sure. That's another thing I want to address here, by the way. Holy shit, man. My God. The conversations these days are just mind numbing. I want to ask you, will I stream it? So I am going to stream the Xbox Direct because I'm already streaming that day. Like, I will be here just like I am right now talking to you guys that day. And when it goes live, I will already be streaming. So I'll just bring it up and we'll watch it, see what they're going to show. I want to see Hellblade. That I do want to see because I think they're going to give a release date. But yeah, that if I tune into that, that's pretty much why I will be tuning into it. But I want to ask you guys this question, and this is a question for people who've been following me for a little while now. I've been asked this question, like, I want to say probably over 100 times, or if not over 100 times, close to it, over the past like 5 years. And that question is, MBG, what would Xbox have to do to get you to play on it again or to go back? And I've answered this question time and time again. And I want to ask you guys to tell me what my answer to that question has been from day one up until now. What has the answer to that question been? Shadow Eagle says, good games. Good games. Better games. Games. Thank you. Thank you. I'm glad that the people here are paying attention and listening because Tom from Toonami, hey MBG, what would make you go back to Xbox? I'm just glad that you guys are well aware of this and keep this in mind. BB12 says the body wash. I don't know, man, that toaster. But this is important for me to highlight because I have been seeing people, because I'm being more critical towards PlayStation. I'm seeing people having conversations like, oh, he's going to switch back to Xbox, or like he's going to flip flop. It's like, bro, I said from the day that I bought a PlayStation 4 and like started playing their exclusives, yeah, I'll go back to Xbox when they start releasing games I'm more interested in. And this is what's so funny to me and also sad is that people are acting as if when the day comes, because I've been talking about it for literal years now, when the day comes when I'm on this channel talking about Hellblade 2, playing it, reviewing it, or if not reviewing it, just talking about my experience with it. I can't wait to see the morons out there that are like, LOL, he flip-flopped. Like, you haven't been listening or paying attention at all, and it shows. It's obvious. I just had to address this because it's like, dude, there's never... I may have had my hot takes, so to speak, on Xbox and still do in Microsoft. And we've had in-depth discussions, you know? And I've had my moments, of course, but I've always... I have never, ever once said that if Xbox puts out games that I'm interested in, I'm not going to play them. That I'm just not going to do it. I've said many times before that I'm just not interested in them and what they're doing now. It doesn't speak to me. I'm not super hyped. But I've always talked about games like Hellblade. I've always talked about games like State of Decay 3. I've always talked about this. And it just is annoying to see people out here positioning me in a way and trying to talk about me in a way that's just totally disingenuous and not real and not true. Where it's like, okay, you want to try to convince people that this is the way I am. Why don't you go find the myriad, because there's many of them. Why don't you go find the clips of me saying this exact thing? 2 years ago, 1 year ago, 3 years ago. Go. Because you know what? Maybe I will. Maybe I will. Maybe me and Devil Shooter will. Maybe we'll go find all throughout the years clips of me saying this exact thing. Because at this point, it seems like it's going to be necessary. Because I'll tell you what, man, these are the same people. These are the same people that claim it's all about just playing good games. Who cares? Who cares about the platforms or the consoles or whatever? You know, the gatekeeping. People should play good games regardless of where they're at. And I've always maintained that. Like, I've always advocated for that, and I've always said that to a degree in which I've said over and over again that when Xbox drops games I'm interested in playing, I will be there. Whether that's on Xbox or on PC, either way, I'll be engaged with the Xbox platform. I'll finally make my way back there. It's never been off the table, ever. But for some reason, I don't know, because I haven't stuck around all this time, right? I haven't been loyal to the end or up until this point, right? Well, I guess I'm not allowed to do that. I guess because I've had criticisms. See, this is the shit that needs to die. This shit right here for both PlayStation and Xbox. It needs to fucking die and fast. Or it's like even people right now, you know how many people are like, fuck PlayStation, I'm done with PlayStation, I'm going to Xbox or PC or whatever. You like the day's gonna come. I don't know when. That's, you know, part of the problem, but the day will come. Could be this year, could be years from now, where Sony's gonna drop some exciting shit and win people back and win people over. I'll tell you right now, anybody who's leaving PlayStation being like, fuck PlayStation, fuck this company, fuck this console, and I'm going to play Xbox games or I'm going to game on PC. Anybody who eventually says, yeah, I want to buy a PS5 or PS6 or whatever, or I want to play these games. Welcome back, man. Good for you. That's great. That's how it needs to be. People need to stop talking about these things as if it's just one or the other. It's never been one or the other. It never will be. And anybody who truly feels that way, I can't imagine there are many people that truly feel this way, but I mean truly, where it's like, I will not go play a game that I'm interested in because it's over there or over here or on this console or on this platform or on this ecosystem. That to me is kind of crazy. Granted, to each their own. If that's who you are, whatever, do your thing. But that to me doesn't make sense at the end of the day, because it's like, it's the equivalent of if, oh yeah, hold on. Guys, hold on one sec. Sorry about that. Had to plug something in. To me, that's like the equivalent of, all right, here we go, boss. Here we go. Boss is coming in to crash my rant. Boss, bro. Why? Why do you do this? Why does he sit? It may not seem like he's that close to me, dude. He's super close to me. You're violating my personal space, boss. Let's see if I can get him to meow. All right, we should be good now. I tried to get Boss to talk into the mic, and instead I ended up accidentally disconnecting my mic. Boss is looking at the screen like, this idiot, bro. This idiot. You can't walk on my keyboard. You can't walk on my keyboard. Oh, man. All right. Anyway, back to my rant. Boss had to come in and tell me to calm down. Bring it down a notch. Bring it down a notch, Dad. Rookie mistake, MBG. I love it. All right, let me finish what I was saying, though, because I did have a pretty important point to make here. I don't understand the idea of purposely going out of your way to truly limit yourself. Like, I understand preference. Believe me, I understand preference. PlayStation is my preference. PS5 is my preference. PlayStation games are my preference. I understand and I respect preference. But what I don't understand is when preference isn't actually preference and it turns into some kind of avoidance or hard limitation that you're setting for reasons that frankly go beyond video games. This is what I don't understand, where it's like when Sony drops a game in the future that looks like it's going to be awesome. Like, let's just say Sony Santa Monica's new IP. If somebody has spent the past 2 generations only on Xbox and really that's it, but they're like, damn, that game looks amazing. The expectation is they should absolutely be willing to go play it and not care that it's coming from PlayStation, that it's on the PlayStation platform. That should be irrelevant. It should only be relevant to the point where if it's within your means. If you can't afford it or something, that's totally different. But this is just the stuff that, in my opinion, needs to stop because it's getting frustrating. Because you know what you're going to see, and I promise you 100% you're going to see this. Mark it right now. You're going to see it. There are going to be some people out there in the gaming community, right, that are going to take what I'm saying and they're going to be like, he's trying to become a neutral. And it's like, guess what? If that's what you're saying, you're part of the fucking problem and you need to go. Because people are allowed to play fucking games that they want to play and talk about games that they want to talk about. You framing something as, oh, they're becoming a neutral or they're a fake neutral. What is this meta game that people are playing right now? They're too focused on the meta game and the console war shit than they are the actual games. It makes no sense, man. What the fuck is a fake neutral? What even is that? Like, I'm actually serious. What is a fake? I've seen people throw that term around, and I always thought it was kind of a joke term. You're saying Mighty Keith released a video on Liza P? Oh, shit. I'm going to have to check that out. He's going turbo. In an ideal world, MBG. I don't know what a fake neutral is. I guess if I had to assume what a fake neutral is, I guess it would be somebody who tries to make it seem like they don't have a preference, but they do. But at the same time, it's like, isn't everybody like that? Like, to me, that's always been part of gaming, where it's like, I've had hundreds and thousands at this point in my life of conversations with people in real life about video games where it's very clear, like, they have a preference towards something, but they talk about many other things as well, or they engage with many other things as well. I guess I've just been spending too much time engaging with fake neutrals, is what I'm trying to say. These damn fake neutrals out here. All right, I got some super chats. Nas, you're saying, hey, John, if you have a few days and you're not playing anything, please don't sleep on Evil West. I'm more than halfway through and I want a sequel. You know what, man? I was thinking about trying that out, but there's also a Plague Tale Requiem, and I'm like, that game has been on my backlog. Like, I don't really consider myself having a backlog. It's just a game that I ended up passing on because there were other things I was doing at the time. But that's a game that I absolutely wanted to try. But Evil West was kind of on my radar at one point as well. So I'll consider it. I want to ask you, What you're saying, Nas, that you're halfway through. Are you trying to platinum the game? Has anybody here platinumed Evil West? Is this a easy or difficult platinum to obtain? I'm just curious because I'm trying to figure out now when I go into playing different games. I'm gonna try to figure out before going into it if it's a game I'm gonna try to platinum or not. Like, is this just gonna be a game I'm just playing to just play it and beat it and then move on, just to get the experience, or is it going to be a game that I really want to go the limit with? Saying hard mode is pretty tough. J. Remy says it's a hard platinum. So it is. Okay. I see quite a few people in the chat saying it's pretty difficult. Saying it plays a bit like God of War. That's actually really interesting. Oh, you know what? Yeah, I remember. I remember seeing some gameplay of it and being like, oh, that looks a little bit God of War inspired. So we'll see. We'll see. I'm gonna claim the games no matter what, so I'll have them there. But yeah, Plague Tale looks good too. So Nas, I appreciate that super chat, man. We have Angry Whale Watcher saying early prediction: Foam Stars gets a nomination for best score and music at the Game Awards. I'm looking forward to for Square's update on FS on the 16th, or Foam Stars. Dude, Foam Stars. Oh man, I'm so intrigued by this game because it's a game that I have almost no interest in whatsoever, but I can't escape the fact that it's like the best previewed game. Like, anybody who played it is like, this game is incredible and super fun and is going to be a surprise hit. And I'm like, really? Really? So I'll be following. I can't say I'll be following it really closely, but I'll definitely be following it up to its launch and seeing. And who knows? Maybe the future holds a Foam Star stream, guys. We're going to stream some Foam Stars. Let's do it. Will I platinum Foam Stars? Great question. We will find out together if I end up platinuming Foam Stars. So Angry Well Watcher, thank you, man. We have Dragon Bat Spidey saying thoughts on DB Sparking Zero, new trailer dropping end of January. Easily the most anticipated anime game in years. I've heard a lot of people talking about this, and I'll be honest with you, man. Like, I have minimal experience with any Dragon Ball games. I played, I forget, I know there's so many different names. I played a couple of them. Not myself. They just weren't games I was into. But I remember going over my cousin's, and he was super into them, and he kind of got me much more involved in playing these Dragon Ball games. I forget the names of them. It's like Budokai or something. And that's the extent of my experience. I'm not really into anime that much, although I did tell you guys this year I'm trying to expand my horizons quite significantly. But my thoughts on this upcoming Dragon Ball game, I can tell you right now, it's not on my radar. It's not because, you're saying it's dropping at the end of January. I mean, if anything, Tekken, that's dropping at the end of January. That's on my radar. But I just don't know, man. I don't know if that game has a place for me right now. But maybe I'll look into it. Apparently, see, that's the thing, is even when I think I'm looking at different games and I'm planning for different games, there's all these other games that I'm just not paying attention to. There's too many games. Too many games, man. Thank you, Dragon Bat Spidey. We have Kirby Shaw with a $10 super chat saying, joining the stream late, any interest in the Machine Games Indiana Jones game? Indy might be my favorite character in film. I'm super interested to see some gameplay. Hope you had a great holiday. Well, thank you so much for that, Kirby. Same to you. So I mentioned this earlier, but since you're joining the stream a little bit late, I'm fascinated by this. I just think to me, it's just kind of random, like Bethesda, Machine Games, Indiana Jones. We've known about this game for a long time. I'm just going in with an open mind. Like, I'm not necessarily excited, like, oh, I can't wait to see this game. I'm not expecting it to underwhelm either. I'm just going into it being like, let's see. You guys have been cooking up this Indiana Jones game for years now, and what is this going to look like? If it, I mean, there's a good chance I'll be interested in it, but I don't know. I'm 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 just as interested, I guess you could say, as anybody else out there. I'm not like the biggest fan of Indiana Jones, to be clear. Like, to me, Indiana Jones is one of those properties where it's like it's always been cool to an extent. I'm like, yeah, Indiana Jones, but I just never really got that into it, and so this could be one of those scenarios where if the game looks really good, like I could maybe get into, I could end up finding myself being more into Indiana Jones than ever before. They'll be interested or interesting. I'll be interested. Yeah, I think right now the expectation that some people have is it's going to be like very similar to Uncharted, which would be really interesting if it is. So we'll find out together. Um, so Kirby, I appreciate that. We have Alex Mercer, the prototype, saying Hellblade 2, Stalker 2, and Indiana are the top games that grab my attention the most. For PlayStation, it's Metal Gear and Silent Hill 2 Remake. Yeah, dude, I want to see more Metal Gear. I do. I really, really want to see more Metal Gear. I cannot believe that we may be looking at a year from. I mean, obviously, a lot of people are going to buy Metal Gear on PlayStation because they're synonymous, but Silent Hill 2 Remake is a PS5 console exclusive. It's going to be crazy if we are looking at 2024 being a year where we get both a Silent Hill 2 and Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater Remake. That would be kind of insane. And if they both end up being good, that would be even more insane. But so for me right now, the Xbox game that is mostly on my radar, like the game that's really kind of, grabbing my attention the most is easily Hellblade 2. I know that people are excited for Avowed. I can't say that I'm interested in Avowed right now. Can't say that I won't try it, depending. It's really not a game that's speaking to me. The Indiana Jones game, like I said, is 50-50. I have to see it, and maybe that'll be on my radar. But right now, like that last Hellblade trailer we saw, I thought looked really, really good. Like, really good. And I'll be honest, man, like, I'm anticipating Hellblade 2 to be a Game of the Year contender. And it's right up my alley, man. So that's the biggest reason I'm going to be tuning into this direct. And I hope we get a release date. And I don't want to get my hopes too high, but a part of me is like kind of hoping that Microsoft surprises us a little bit and is like, and Hellblade 2 is coming out in like 3 months or something. That would be awesome. But when it comes to other Xbox games, I would say State of Decay 3 is another one. It seems like it's really far away, but I'm really interested to see what that game turns out to be like. I keep forgetting about that game Stalker 2, by the way. That one looks like it has a lot of potential as well, from what I've seen. And you say here you hope that Hellblade 2 takes advantage of your Series X. I think it will. I think if there's any game that's going to try to actually showcase the power of the Series X, it will probably be Hellblade 2. Like, if Hellblade 2 can't do it, then I don't know what could. I'm trying to figure out where I'm going to play Hellblade 2. Like, when it drops, I imagine it would make the most sense for me to play it on my PC. Like, my PC is, it should be, I think, more than capable of running this game well. Like, I think better than even the Series X. But again, I do like the console experience, so we'll see. Yeah, I got to open up that 360 or 3060, sorry. And then the question arises, do I subscribe to Game Pass? Do I buy it? I don't know. Decisions. I'll play it on my Series S toaster. That'll be the best way to experience it. I'll probably try it on PC first. We have Broccoli Rob, member for 8 months, saying we literally have people who will argue which is better, Costco versus Sam's Club, Target versus Walmart, let alone the products in the store. Peak capitalism. yeah, that's true, man. I guess this is nothing new. again, I think it all boils down to one thing and one thing only, and that is people need to be more accepting of the difference of of a person having a preference, and a person basically having a problem with somebody else's preference. Mm, mm. See, interesting how that works, isn't it? It's pretty simple, really. Alan L. Ghoul, member for 6 months, says MBG, I just got Destiny 1 Platinum, and it's my 178th Platinum. Well, congrats, man. That's a lot. I only have, I think, at this point, 35 Platinums, man. So you're leaving me in the dust. You're saying, I want to ask you, what was your hardest Platinum? For me, Max Payne 3 and GT Sport. I did. So, Alan, I want to tell you, man, do yourself a favor. If you're really interested in hearing more about this, my last stream, the first 20 minutes of that stream is dedicated to me talking about my journey platinuming Lies of P and talking about how it's my most proud platinum and my most difficult. But I do want to throw in here, Sifu was a very difficult platinum for me. That is one of my most proud platinums because I really, that again, it's always with the end bosses with these games. I loved Sifu. It was one of my favorite games ever. And it was the final boss that really challenged me a lot, where that game really demanded you have to learn pretty much every frame to beat this guy. And it really pushed me, but that's another platinum I'm very proud of. I'm sure there are others. I would have to look through my list again. Returnal's one that I'm proud of as well. But yeah, I mean, I will say this. I'm proud of Ghost of Tsushima getting not the platinum, because getting the platinum for Ghost of Tsushima wasn't too difficult, but I got all of the trophies, including the trophies for Ghost of Tsushima Legends, and I'm pretty proud of completing that raid. That was definitely out of my comfort zone, but I did play the raid for Ghost of Tsushima Legends, and it was pretty difficult. Required a lot of teamwork, but it was fun, man. I did enjoy it. It was something very, very new for me. So thank you for that, Alan. We have It's About Damn Time with a $2 super chat saying, should we expect the Division Heartland this year? I've heard about that game. I don't know much about it. I haven't been following it, but I would imagine it's a game that we should be getting some kind of update on this year, right? I wish I had more to say, but I would have to look into it a little bit deeper. It's about damn time. I would have to do a little bit more research. I did play the Division 2 though. And actually, speaking of platinums, I did platinum that game. Totally forgot. I really enjoyed the Division 2. So much so that I got the platinum. So appreciate all the super chats you guys have been dropping here and all the support. I do I do have some other topics we're going to talk about, but yeah, man, I kind of went down this path. I didn't really bring it up earlier when I listed the topics we're going to discuss, but I just wanted to talk to you guys, about the situation that I'm seeing unfold with the rumor mill already beginning with state of plays, showcases, and I know I still have more left to say, so I hope you'll bear with me here. But I'll be honest. This is going to be more of like a cathartic stream for me. A little bit of therapy here. Will I get the platinum for Helldivers 2? That depends. I would like to, absolutely, and we are going to talk about Helldivers 2. All right, we're going to talk about that after I finish whatever it is I want to say here. But Helldivers 2, I get the feeling that getting the platinum for Helldivers 2 is going to be infuriatingly difficult. I could be wrong, and I would love to be wrong. Like, it turns out that actually it's really not that bad. But I do kind of get this feeling with that game that it's going to be infuriatingly difficult, and we'll see. I would like to rise to the occasion and rise to the challenge if it's going to be difficult. I just don't want it to be like I just with games like Helldivers 2, I always have this fear that there's going to be just some kind of ridiculous trophy. Like, I remember a long time ago, I forget if I was playing it on 360 or I didn't play many games on PS3. This may have been one of the few games I did play on PS3. No, maybe not. It's irrelevant where I can't remember. I'd have to go back and look. But what I remember is there was this Resident Evil game. It wasn't very popular. I don't even remember what year it came out. It was called like Operation Raccoon City or something like that. And I'm just referencing this game because, dude, there was a trophy. So they had like uh, a multiplayer, like a 4v4 multiplayer mode in this game where there were like 4 heroes versus 4 heroes. And there was this one trophy where or achievement where you had to kill all 4 real human players on the other team yourself. And I remember I never got all the. Again, I don't remember. It's driving me nuts. I can't remember if I played it on Xbox or PlayStation, but wherever I played it, I didn't get all of the trophies or achievements, and that was the only one I needed, and I was never able to obtain it because it was just impossible. It's like that's not a thing that can happen in this game without like the chances of it. You have to be unbelievably lucky, and I don't even think you could boost it either. So, I always worry with multiplayer games about like just these ridiculous trophies that are like, are you kidding me? Like, who came up with this? And why are you an asshole? But anyway, I do want to talk about this just a little bit more before I move on. So I hope you guys will hang with me here because it's just something that's been weighing on my mind because it's getting very tiresome where I am not going to sit here and claim that I am not guilty of some things. I absolutely am. I've gotten more deeply involved with like the console war stuff than I would care to admit at times in the past. But last year, I feel like, listen, if I told you guys that this is a situation where it's like the pendulum always swings with this type of stuff. Like when it comes to these groups of PlayStation fans and Xbox fans and the back and forth. And the pendulum, in my opinion, has fully swung one way over and back the other way. It just seems like we're at a point now where when you consider that we just got done having conversations on the last stream about the rumors of some Xbox first party titles possibly getting PS5 releases, and people still want a console war. They will. It's never going to end, and there will always be something. There's Xbox fans in denial saying it's bullshit, but like there's other Xbox fans that like New Soul 9 who is saying he thinks that all Xbox games should release on PlayStation 5. And then some people are going to argue with him on that and say no, he's crazy. And I saw the top comment on that last stream was somebody basically saying that, and this is exactly what I'm talking about, where they basically said that you guys spent 10 years shitting on Xbox One and Xbox games, and now you're over here like asking to get them on your platform or begging for them or whatever. And like, this is what I mean. That's not real. Like, that's not a real thing. And I think people need to just kind of look past the console war bullshit here and realize that, yes, there were people who were shitting on the Xbox One and Microsoft pretty hard during that generation. But what happens is people get confused. They get confused for the people who were, truly not giving Xbox anything whatsoever and being just nasty towards the fans and the fan base. And granted, again, I'm not totally innocent. I partook in that a little bit more than I should have. I've talked all about that. I've talked about how maybe I was a little bit unfair at times. But I always maintain that it was just because I want to see Microsoft reach their fucking potential because they can. Like, I was there for it with the 360, and they can kick ass when they want to. But there's no doubt that you get caught up in things, and I get that. And that's why when I see people doing this stuff, it's like, I get it, man. It's kind of just a metagame in and of itself that people like to play and go back and forth. It's like to dunk on one another. I get it. But to me, this is like this conversation about some Microsoft games possibly making their way to PlayStation and seeing some of the responses is where things truly get to a whole nother level of like, okay, no one is begging Microsoft to put their games on PlayStation. We need to make that clear. We need to make that clear. No, and it's not because Xbox doesn't have games that people want, blah blah. It's not for that reason either. Because I've seen people have that reaction too, where it's like, yo, who wants that shit? Xbox can keep their shit. Come on. Like, no one's saying that either. The reality is, anybody who doesn't see how kind of monumental it would be to see something like this occur, even if it's for a game you don't care for, people have to realize that that's what people are interested in. Not the whole, oh, well, now you guys want Xbox games. No. It doesn't matter whether people shit on these games in the past or not. The reason why it doesn't matter is because people shit on PlayStation games too. But I know for a fact that if Sony announced tomorrow that a game like if Sony announced tomorrow that Spider-Man 2's going on PS5, or sorry, it's Spider-Man 2 is going to release on PS5 tomorrow, guys, on Xbox, like, I know that I would see the same thing where there would be certain toxic PlayStation fans being like, well, you guys shit on it, you don't deserve it. But it's like, that's not a real thing. Like, the reality is there would be possibly millions of people, if not millions, at least a million, at least 1 million people that'd be like, oh shit, I could play Spider-Man 2 on my Xbox. You know what I mean? And it's like, this is where I just don't understand why there always has to be some kind of fucking tug of war, even at moments like this, where it's like, dude, we are about to see Sony and Microsoft possibly shake hands in a way we've never seen them before and come to some kind of agreement that we've never seen before, and people are still finding ways to twist it and turn it into some kind of toxic bullshit. It's frustrating, man, because it's just, you want to have a better conversation about the larger implications of this, and all you end up seeing is, oh, what, you guys love Xbox games now? It's like, okay, well, I guess that's as far as this is going to go. And granted, I understand the frustration with some people where they're like, well, Sony and Nintendo would never do this for Xbox. And it's like, well, yeah, it seems unlikely, but still, that doesn't make it any less substantial. It doesn't make it any less substantial or kind of monumental in a way. Here's the harsh truth, man. And I'm just gonna say this, and I don't care if this makes me, I don't care. I don't care if this makes me the target of all the different fanboys out there, because I just don't fucking care anymore. Like, I'm so over it, and I'm just tired. If you're a toxic, like, troll fanboy, I don't care whether you're doing it in the name of PlayStation or Xbox. You're fucking annoying. Like, you're just annoying, and you are not contributing to anything but just a circle of toxic bullshit that is just making it easier and easier for even shittier people to get in on it and grow that shit like a cancerous tumor. Okay? So whether you're doing it in the name of PlayStation, whether you're doing it in the name of Xbox, I'm going to try to be as polite as I can, knowing full well that pretty much nobody's going to listen. Well, I guess hopefully maybe somebody will listen. You should just stop. You should. Just stop. I get it. Maybe it's your only way to get any attention, any recognition whatsoever. Maybe that's the only way you can get likes on your post. The only way you can get views, whether it's on your videos or your posts. I get it. But man, it's just, it's not going to lead to anything good. It's just not. You're saying I'm toxic myself. I've been toxic, yes. And that's why I'm saying, like, dude, I've went through the whole gamut here. I was there with Xbox One getting fucking shit on, bro. Oh, man, let me tell you. I was there. Ironically enough, that person who left that comment on my stream that was saying, like, you shit on our games for 10 years and now y'all want them. Like, bro, I was literally there getting shit on. At least at the beginning. I know, man. And I went to the other side, experience, holy shit, I get it. I did. I'm like, I know why the hype train is just practically going off the rails for PlayStation, because look at the banger games they're delivering, man. Like, this is insane. And there was the hype for the PS5, and things got, a little bit toxic at that time with Halo Infinite, even Domino's dunking on it. But, it's, like I said, man, I'm willing to acknowledge my own toxicity and how it has. This is why I'm saying, like, it doesn't lead to anything good. I'm telling you from experience. Like, at the end of the day, I just eventually realized that all I'm doing is creating a further divide, that when things go poorly, which they will, it's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when. When are things going to go wrong? They will. It's a guarantee in life. When it happens, it's going to come back around. And when that happens, you're going to learn a thing or two. And the problem is some people just don't learn. And that to me is you're saying the console wars are just entertaining to you. Yeah, and I get that. I understand that as well. And I think that's why, I think at the end of the day, that's why I find that I'm just not, I'm just finding it more tiring than ever before, because I've been there too many times where it's like you kind of get involved in it a little bit. You start playing that game, doing the back and forth at least a little bit, and you just kind of but it's not serious at the end of the day. And I guess it's not that serious at the end of the day, but it's like, I don't know, man. I'm just at a point where, like, it's just been, for me personally, it's been taken too far, where I'm just tired. I'm tired of constantly seeing just the same fucking conversations take place. Like, the same thing. It's like he said, she said stuff where people just, like, arguing over petty, dumb shit. Like, don't you guys get fucking tired? Not you guys, but the shit. I said, like, don't you get tired? Or at the very least, is there not anything else to discuss? Now, granted, I guess in a way, it's like, well, here I am talking about it too. But you think I'm giving them too much attention? Yeah, you're probably right. In fact, you are right. This is giving it to, but you know what? I like to think it's not in vain. I like to think that it's in the name of, I don't know, man, maybe the more people that can maybe come to this realization across the board, right? Like, no matter what your preference is or which side you're on, so to speak, the more people that come to this realization, the quicker we can just, like, move past this shit. But I don't know. Some people, I guess, don't want to move past it. So you're saying I'm part of the problem. This is not monumental. They release games on other platforms already. Well, maybe monumental is too big of a word. But my whole thing is, and this is what gets really annoying about it, is what I think is an accurate way of viewing it and seeing it is it is a relatively big deal in that Microsoft may end up taking games that were published by them, that were developed by their own first-party studios, and releasing them on a rival console. Granted, they're not the newest games, but games that you never would have expected to see get a proper release on a rival console. That's a big deal. That's kind of surprising, right? Never would have thought that we would see the day. See, to me, that's an accurate thing to say versus what I see so many people saying. Xbox is going full third party. Like Xbox is they're exiting the console market. They're going full third party. And it's like, well, I understand like that maybe in the long run, but it's like that's not accurate because that's not what's happening right now. Right? And then you see other people where I've seen this too, where like some Xbox people are getting criticism on the internet because they're out here basically pointing out that, or not pointing out, but just saying it's bullshit. It's not real. It's just rumors. And it's like, guys, you're kind of delusional if you have that strong of a stance here, because it's like, look at the amount of insiders that are saying that, like, yeah, this is going to happen to a certain extent. And even to the point where now some popular Xbox influencers are getting involved in it and saying the same thing. It's like, this is where that whole, again, it's just the extreme thinking, man. And this isn't that at all. Like, this is in the middle where it's very surprising and unexpected, but it's not like it doesn't definitively determine the overall future of Xbox on PlayStation. And people continue to, again, they just have these toxic conversations and takes. It's like, it's getting tiresome, man. But I don't know, I guess if you get bored enough. We have the Zombie Fanatic saying Xbox wants to one-up PlayStation by releasing a new console in 2026. Yeah, we talked about that, and that would be really interesting to see. Right? Like, it would be really interesting to see what happens if Microsoft really does try to get out like well ahead of the PlayStation 6. And I don't know. Like, I don't know. I think there's this idea that they're gonna try to like hit the ground running, and like we're gonna take the lead. And it's like, I do not think that's Microsoft's outlook. I think the purpose of releasing a new console that soon is for people. I think Microsoft is going to make it clear, like, yeah, this is a new console, our next gen, and it's for those who want it. But I don't think it's going to be able, like, I don't think if the Xbox, the next generation Xbox drops in 2026, that it's just, you know, especially if by that time any Microsoft published games do release on PlayStation or Nintendo, I don't think that's going to just suddenly make people be like, well, I'm switching over to the Xbox console now. I think at most what it could do, and this could be beneficial for them, is by getting out ahead of the PlayStation 6, but also releasing after the Switch 2, like being right in the middle, they'll have like a window of opportunity for people to say, oh, well, you know what? I'll buy the new Xbox because the PlayStation 6 isn't out yet, and I already got my Switch 2, and I already got my PS5. It could do that. Like, it could be Microsoft's way of trying to be like, okay, we are in third place console-wise, and we're having a hard time like competing against the PS5 and the Switch. So maybe the next best thing is, let's see if we can just kind of get in that little window to be like, you know, here's the new shiny console, and there's no competition around right now. Huh? Well, what do you think? I don't know. I could be wrong. But I'm very interested to see if there's truth to that, if Microsoft is targeting a 2026 release for their new console and what that new console will look like. We also have Alex Mercer, the prototype, with a $5 super chat. And he says, come to think of it, there was a multiplayer game that had a trophy where you have to be number one on the leaderboard. don't know the game, but Game Ranks covered it. Oh my, that, you know what? Wasn't it like a Tom Clancy Ghost Recon game? I think I heard of this game that did that. I'm pretty sure it was a Ghost Recon game. Holy shit. Imagine being that much of a dick. Like, imagine coming up with a trophy or achievement list and making one of the achievements to be number 1 on the leaderboard for multiplayer. That's just fucked, man. That should be illegal. No way. You're saying you think Killzone Shadowfall had that? No way. I don't believe that. That would be horrible. Shame on Sony if that's true. But I don't know if it's true or not. But yeah, guys, long story short, I'm a fake neutral now. So sorry to disappoint. If you were a toxic PlayStation fanboy, I'm a toxic neutral. I'm a toxic neutral now. No, I'm a fake neutral. So, I mean, you may hear me talk about PlayStation quite a bit. You may notice that it's very clearly still my preference. Am I an Xbot? Oh, I don't know, man. That's where I'm headed. Clearly, I'm flip-flopping. I'm going back to Xbox and I'm flip-flopping, bro. I'm going to be Xbot number 1. Time to go back home. Enough of this PlayStation bullshit. But you see what I'm saying? It's like, it really is that level of ridiculous where it's just, oh man. People in their that's where they see me headed. I'm an XX bot. There we go. That Phil Spencer influencer contract got MBG interested. Yeah, now I'm gonna talk about how horrible Sony is. Where am I playing Helldivers 2? I am gonna play it on PS5. I'm gonna buy a physical copy for PS5. Become an Nintendrone? Oh my god, a Nintendrone. I love that. I know that's not the first time I heard that, but I haven't heard that term in a long time. But yeah, I wanted to have this conversation with you guys, and I know it's a little bit annoying to some people because it's like it's not necessarily, it's more about myself and shit I'm seeing on the internet, and I know that can get annoying sometimes, but it does, you know, it does have some type of influence, generally speaking, across the landscape, and I'm just hoping that more people can get to a point where we can just start talking about. Of course, I want to maintain the conversation around the competitiveness of these companies. Like, I want to make that clear too. I do care about the competition because the competition is going to be necessary and needed. But as I'm trying to get deeper into games now, I just find that, you know, there are just some things that maybe I would be too hyper focused on that maybe I'm just not as hyper focused on now because I'm more focused on games that are coming out that I want to play. Goalpost moving toxic version. Well, you know, I've been accused of moving the goalposts in the past, and I'm sure there were times where I did, and maybe I didn't realize I was doing it. But I'm here to say that there is no more goalpost moving. There are just no goalposts. I'm not on a fucking playing field. I guess that's the best way I could put it. Is there's no goals to be had. There's no post. There's just nothing. I'm out here. I'm not even out. I'm not outdoors. I'm inside. So it was the wrong. So wait, you're saying it was the wrong kill zone? You just looked. Was there a kill zone though that had that? Because that's still messed up, man. Hasn't MBG been canceled like twice already? Dude, I'll tell you what, if I've been canceled, I don't I don't really believe in that because it's just like I don't think a person can really be canceled unless they just decide they are done. Um, if I've been canceled, I am not aware that I've been canceled. That's dude. That's the funniest shit ever. They were called Nintendogs, or you thought they were called Nintendogs. I've never heard that term, Nintendogs. That's something sounds kind of wrong about that. Not saying that the other terms sound right, but that sounds particularly. MBG's nihilistic error. No, see, that's the thing is I don't know that it's nihilism. It can feel that way sometimes. But it's more along the lines of like just really being honest with how much like does this really mean to me? Like how much does it really matter? Versus how much of it is the internet told me I should be upset about this. You know? That's really what it comes down to. Because if there's another thing that I've learned, you know what I saw yesterday? I do come across some interesting things on Twitter, obviously, but one of the more interesting things I saw, just a random person who put out a tweet where they started playing Forspoken and they were like fucking enamored with it, dude. I don't know who this wasn't like a well-known, this was just like a random person on Twitter. And they were just like loving fucking Forspoken. They weren't, and they weren't like a fanboy, whatever. They were just a random person. And I was like, that's kind of funny to me, you know? Like it was interesting. Like, how many people played this game and like loved it or really thought that there was something there that was worth highlighting, that it just got totally swept under the rug and overshadowed because of internet hate, you know? And keep in mind, I'm not saying internet criticism. I'm saying internet hate because I do think there is a difference at this point. I think that there's an obvious difference between people who are just hating, like they just, like, I hate this and I'm going to make fun of it versus I'm being critical of this. Like I'm analyzing this. I'm really taking it in and I have some criticisms or some concerns. I think there is a difference. And I think that that's an important part of this conversation here is that going forward for me, that's something I want to bring to the table a lot more. I think I've done a pretty decent job of it, but there are certainly times where I didn't do a decent job. But that is realizing there's a difference between falling into the just internet hate wave or waves that occur cyclically versus just truly being critical about something and not jumping to conclusions and trying to extract more out of it other than just, well, everybody says this is bad, so it must be bad. Redfall is a great example of that. But Forspoken is as well. In fact, Forspoken and Redfall share that exact thing where, dude, these are two games that people just immediately jump to extremely harsh conclusions. And I'm not saying, like, it's funny because it's like people still try to argue like Forspoken's better or Redfall's better. And maybe that's true. But it's like, for me, I realized that I didn't play either of those games, and I just came to the conclusion definitively that no, they're both bad. And maybe that's fine. No one will even say that that's necessarily wrong of me, but it's like, I guess what I'm saying is if I'm going to have any conversations about stuff being good or bad, I want to get involved in it going forward. Like that's my stance now, where if Redfall released this year, let's say Redfall didn't come out yet or Forspoken, either one, and it's clear that a conversation around this, like one of these games or both of these games is heating up, I'm not going to talk much about it, or at least not make come to any conclusive thoughts until I experience it for myself. And that to me has been my biggest downfall, or not downfall, but like my biggest weakness, I think is the best way to put it on this channel, is that there's been too many times where I've had intense opinions and heavy-handed opinions. Like, let me tell you about this thing. But I didn't play it. I wasn't like that with Starfield. I think I improved with Starfield. I wasn't like that. But Redfall was something where I went in hard on Redfall. And I understand that there are a lot of people that are going to say, dude, you had every right to. Like, the game's garbage. But it's like, That's not the point. You know what I mean? The point is, if I'm going to talk to you guys about this, I need to talk from a place of experience. Because if not, then I'm no different than the random person on Twitter or YouTube comments or wherever that's just leaving a comment saying, "Yeah, this shit sucks." You know, just whittling something down. And I'm not saying that there's more to Redfall. I'm sure if I played it, I would have came to the same conclusion or a very similar one. But I want to get away from these conversations, because that's another theme that I've noticed as well in kind of looking at the landscape, is that you begin to realize that some of these games take on a life of their own outside of the game itself. Spider-Man 2 and Starfield are both prime fucking examples of like the conversations around these two games. Not all of them, but so many of the conversations go so far beyond like, wait, what are we talking about again? And if it doesn't go to that level, it goes to the level of like, how many people are talking about this are just regurgitating what they heard somebody else say or what they read, but they didn't actually really play it. Like, dude, I have been conditioned with a game like Starfield to fucking despise it. And when I say conditioned, I'm talking about like, dude, it's like, I wish I could go back, man. Like, I do. Well, maybe I don't, because the reality is I genuinely don't have an interest in Starfield. But Hellblade 2 will be a good example of, I know for a fact, and this is not you guys in the chat, to be clear. At least it shouldn't be. I don't believe it's any one of you. But I know for a fact that when Hellblade 2 comes out, there are going to be PlayStation fans on the internet who are going to hate on it. And I really, really hope they don't. I really don't, because if there was ever a game that I can confidently say, if you slapped the PlayStation Studios logo on this, PlayStation fans would be excited, it's Hellblade 2. I'm not saying if you're a PlayStation fan, you should love Hellblade 2 and hype it up. I'm not saying that either. I'm just saying this is a great example of where the barriers need to be broken down. They do. Where it's not about fighting one another and talking about, well, Hellblade has an Xbox logo on it, and it's not releasing on my preferred console, so it must be bad. No. The only thing you should say at that point is, well, because it's not releasing on my preferred console, I'll probably just pass on it. I think that's fine. That's not like harmful or anything. Like, that's not toxic. It's just, okay, it's a decision. That's fine. But I know this is an incoming shitstorm. And I'm telling you right now, I'm going to fucking slice right through that shit. No pun intended, I guess. And I hope you guys are here with me to do it, because that's exactly what we're going to fucking do. You're saying a walking game? A walking game, yes. But you know what else? Well, actually, I don't know what else. I was going to... Really quick question I have for you guys, because I'm trying to think in my head right now. Does Sony have any single-player games that are seemingly coming out before the end of this year, or have a chance of releasing before the end of this year, like one of their first-party titles? I'm trying to think if there's anything. I don't think so. Like, Death Stranding 2 is the closest, but that's still... You know, Kojima Productions isn't a Sony-owned studio, although I think that would still be a really big one for Sony, certainly. I don't think so. MBG, we don't want an Xbox. See, that's what I'm saying, though. See, Rudy, I'm glad you said that, though, because you know how many times I've seen people say that shit, where like, just get an Xbox. Like, it's a meme, you know, like making fun of people, like, just get an Xbox. And it's like, well... Or don't, and play it on literally any of the other devices that it's going to be available on. You know, like, I don't want an Xbox. Well, right now I don't want an Xbox because honestly, truthfully, my entertainment center is pretty fucking cluttered. So it's like if I were to actually get an Xbox, I would have to figure out where it's going to go. But I also feel like I don't know that I would want. As I said, I don't know that I would get an Xbox right now because it's like I got this powerful gaming PC. It's a little awkward, but I do like the console experience. That's the whole thing, man. I've abdicated for the console experience. Am I trying to sell you an Xbox? You're damn right. Go out and buy an Xbox Series X right now. Do it. No. I'll be real right now, man. I really feel like if somebody is interested in console gaming and they haven't picked up a PS5, it would be truly like no fanboy stuff, man. It would be difficult for me to tell them that like you're not missing anything. Like I honestly would feel like, dude, there's quite a bit. No, well, but then again, there's a caveat here. The caveat is if they have a PS4, maybe they didn't miss nearly as much. But games like Final Fantasy 16, which I know are going to come to PC, and games like Returnal and Ratchet, they're on PC as well. But I don't know. I guess it's just like if you're not into PC gaming and you haven't gotten a PS5, it's an easy recommend for me. It's an easy recommend. Like, yeah, I would definitely suggest it. When it comes to Xbox, I can't speak to that because I didn't get involved in the Xbox ecosystem this time around. So that's what I'm saying. It'll be interesting to report to you guys. Do I feel like I've missed anything? Actually, you're saying you can never support Microsoft. You're saying they're one of the most vile companies of all time. It sounds like it sounds like the axe you have to grind with Microsoft goes beyond Xbox, man. I'm interested. What's going on here? Um, you just want your PS5 to play your old 3D Blu-rays. Not much of an ask. I know. Well, my whole thing is like, I know people have some serious issues with like Bill Gates and stuff like that, and I'm not too familiar with it. Like I've seen like some crazy claims about Bill Gates. I just never like looked into it. God, dude, I love the way actually words this stuff. They're just an amorphous, soulless blob of destruction. Dude, that is the most amazing description of a company I've ever heard. An amorphous, soulless blob of destruction. Holy shit. That's awesome. It's funny because it's like I'm imagining just an actual amorphous blob going around fucking destroying things. It just like slapped the Microsoft logo on it. Like, there you go. But yeah, I don't know. All big corporations have skeletons in the closet, man. That's just the truth. I wouldn't want to know everything. Truthfully, I wouldn't. I don't think it would be good. But but yeah, my hope is that going forward, and I'm not just speaking about my channel here, but just talking about these console manufacturers, these platform holders, Sony, Microsoft, we could throw Nintendo in there. My hope is that things can kind of get to a healthier place where it's more about focusing on the actual competitive nature that is necessary between these companies and these consoles and these platforms and these games, and not become hyper fixated on the toxic, unnecessary bullshit side of it, which I feel like does make for a more entertaining side of it. And I think that's why it can become problematic, because I think people kind of pick up on they like the drama, they like the 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 meta game of it, the back and forth. And that's fine. You people are going to do what they're going to do. I just hope that, generally speaking, at least here and hopefully beyond here, we can get to a better place. But whether or not that happens, man, remains to be seen. I'm at the end of the day, I can only speak for myself. I can't speak for you guys. I can't speak for anybody out there. I can only speak for me and me alone. And that's what I plan to do. Actually, you're saying, unfortunately, since Sony moved its headquarters to California or California, well, I read that in like Arnold's voice. They're becoming far less unique and palatable, in my opinion. I do think that Sony. So I want to. All right, this wasn't actually. You got me thinking about something, and this wasn't a topic I had planned to discuss, but it's just something I'll throw out here because I'm interested to see what you guys have to say. What are your general thoughts on Naughty Dog as a game studio, on Neil Druckmann as the director or the president of that studio? What are your thoughts on Naughty Dog, generally speaking? Did I talk about the new controller? I did. Yeah, I didn't have too much to say about the controller because, I mean, there's only so much I can extract from it, truthfully. Naughty Dog hit the fan. Jakey Steve says good. Hicksock says Naughty Dog is great. Stranko says shadow of their former selves. Really nothing. Get rid of Druckmann and they'll be fine. Here's the missing drama. Well, see, that's the thing is I don't think there has to be drama behind it. I don't think there has to be drama. I think it can be more constructive. Maybe not productive, but constructive, certainly. Actually says he's over Naughty Dog at this point. They're not the same as before. Well, the reason why I wanted to bring this up is because I talked to you guys the other day about, the whole situation with Neil Druckmann at the Golden Globes, and like, oh my God, I cannot believe, like, I always knew there was like an animosity towards Neil Druckmann, but oh my God, like that guy had to have been crying. He had to, because like he got obliterated on Twitter for his appearance at the Golden Globes. And I again, somebody going in expecting some hate, I was like, holy shit, what did this man do to you? Like, I get it, man. But I was like, whose family member did he kill? He killed Joel. He's real to me, damn it. Villain origin story. Yes, dude. That's exactly what it is. That was Neil Druckmann's Joker moment, man. He went home that night and he was like scrolling and he was like, you know what? Wait until our next game. You guys will see. But putting that aside, something else I want to mention is that one of the things that Naughty Dog did recently on their Twitter is they announced that they were doing like a GIF thing where they were taking famous GIFs or well-known ones and they were like putting Last of Us skins over it. And they like made a thing about it. And you know what? Like, I didn't think much of it. I was just like, well, that's a little cringe, but I get it. This is just how you're trying to market the game. And I was like looking at the amount of hate that they were getting for just even doing this. were like, I mean, the title of Hate Wave, or the hate tidal wave that ensued, I was like, wow, a little bit more surprising than I thought, but it just got me thinking a little bit about this studio, and I realized that, yeah, Caitlin Dever, she was cast as Abby. You're saying you feel bad for her because she has no idea what she's walking into? Oh, man. I don't think she does. Maybe she does, but she just doesn't care. Which, if not, then good for her. But yeah, it's going to be, assuming they don't make any changes. Oh, man. Oh, man. I would not want to be in her shoes right now. But this got me thinking. It's a question that we have to ask. Is the animosity and the hate that Naughty Dog gets justified? And I think that's a loaded question. Because my gut, if I were to just give you an instinctive reaction, like my gut, my just, knee-jerk reaction, the answer is yes, in my mind. But that's not fair to me or to anybody else, because to me, that's just not, it's too simple to just say, yes, it is. I think it's more than that. Because what I find is that when I see the frustration from people coming out, I understand where that's coming from. It's like, this studio has become obsessed with their own property here with The Last of Us. They are pretentious. They believe that they are, I don't know, like you could just, there's just all these qualities about them that communicate to you that they are just milking this, and they are pushing it, and they believe that they are truly like at another level. And I get that. I'm not even saying that they shouldn't feel that way to a certain extent when you're showered with as many awards as The Last of Us Part 2 got. But my whole thing is, something that I've learned in kind of observing this is that Naughty Dog does not give a single shit about what anybody thinks. And if there's one thing that I think that comes from Neil Druckmann, in that under Neil Druckmann's leadership as president of Naughty Dog, it has, like, it's clear that the culture they've developed is, we are going to run our studio like this. We're going to focus on what we want to focus on, and we're going to do what we want to do. And we don't fucking care what any of you have to say. You could be the biggest Naughty Dog fan. You could have a fucking shrine dedicated to us. We don't care. And the question that leads me to is, as a fan, like as somebody who was a fan or is a fan, what's the appropriate way to respond to that? And here's the conclusion I've come to. The conclusion I've come to is, you should air your grievances in a respectable way. I think that is necessary. Like, when I say air your grievances, I mean, let them know, right? Like, hey, I don't like the direction you guys are going in. I don't like how the focus has only been on one single property, The Last of Us. I don't like that there's nothing new coming from your studio, that we haven't seen anything new. And if you have a problem with Neil Druckmann himself, just say, I don't agree with Neil Druckmann's leadership or decisions. That, to me, is the appropriate way to communicate that. And then when you get no response, and the answer you get from Naughty Dog is, well, too bad. We're just going to do this anyway. At that point, the only thing you can do is truly walk away. and not give them any more of your attention, any more of your time, and any more of your money. And I'm not saying that I'm there, but I was just really thinking about this because I'm like, damn, dude, like Naughty Dog has become a truly, truly divisive studio, like more than I could have imagined. What do you think will happen when you give people the middle finger? You're not going to engender goodwill, that's for sure. That's true. Benino, you're saying, I think about the Last of Us PC fiasco. I think that was the cherry on top. Yeah, that was pretty bad. Naughty Dog has definitely, had some blunders. And all of these blunders have happened underneath Neil Druckmann as president, cancellation of the multiplayer, the PC fiasco. I saw that apparently there was a pitch for a Last of Us spin-off show that focuses on Bill and Frank. And I'm just like, you're joking, right? Like, that's a joke? Like, haha. Right? Like, please tell me that's a joke. because here's the thing. I know that episode was controversial for some people. I had no problem with that episode. I was like, okay, it's fine. Like, cool. Get some backstory on Bill. That's fine. It was fine. But the thing is, they told their story. Like, the story of Bill and Frank was told in that entire episode from start to finish. There was a beginning, middle, and end. Literally. And I'm like, you have a whole cast of characters, a whole universe here that you've created that you could pull from. And that is what you're thinking about going with? That, like, to me, this is what scares me about Naughty Dog, where it's like, I don't know that they have a choice in that or say, but it's like, I'll be honest. The first thing that came to my mind when I read that, wait, Dan, you're saying Nick Offerman said that was a joke because everyone ran with the false story? Oh, okay. All right. Well then there you go. I picked up on the joke then. I did pick up on the joke because I literally was like, oh, that's pretty funny. And it's a good joke too, because it walks that line of like, guys, did you watch the episode? Like, they can't do that. Like, they literally can't do that without basically retconning their own episode. And I think a lot of people, and I get it, it became more, for me, it was more like, at that point, I was going to ask myself, what has The Last of Us become if this is the direction we're going in? Where it's like, dude, you wanted to tell a backstory for Bill and Frank, and you did. And that's cool. Like, I personally didn't have a problem with that. I will say this. This is what I will say about the Bill and Frank episode. Because I know it's like, that's one of those episodes where it's like, oh, it's woke and they're pushing the gay agenda and whatnot. And like, look, my problem is as simple as this. That's cool that you guys did that. And it's like interesting to get some backstory on Bill. Because, when I played the game, we did kind of get that there's something here with Bill and Frank, but they didn't go into it. So that was kind of cool. But I also thought to myself, like, dude, if you go and play The Last of Us, that whole section in Bill's town, they're like, Joel and Ellie go through a lot. And there's some of the most intense, like, crazy moments in the game that happen in that I thought we were going to see in the show. Like, I thought we were going to see them in the school. That would be maybe when we finally saw the bloater, if not the bloater, but the intense situation of, we got to get the car running. We got to find the battery, right? And then we got to, I mean, when you play The Last of Us at the end of that segment, when you're pushing, Joel and Bill are pushing the truck and Ellie's trying to get it started. Like, I was looking forward to all that. And that just was totally written out in favor of a random, like a love story that I guess we just, it had to, and that's fine. Like, it almost makes me wonder, like maybe if you guys wanted to do something like this, you should have made that episode more similar to the game, and then later on, if you wanted to do a spinoff for them. But then again, maybe that would be too dragged out. But it's not that big of a deal to me. I'm getting way off track here. What I'm trying to talk about and focus on is I just don't understand like what Naughty Dog is anymore. I just don't understand what Naughty Dog is anymore. Where it's like, to me, Naughty Dog is just The Last of Us now. And if they are anything else, I don't see it. I don't, because it's like, I talked to you guys previously about Naughty Dog, and one of the things I said is that they have one more shot. I'm sorry, man, but for me, I'm not speaking generally. Naughty Dog is going to succeed no matter what. I want to make that clear. Guys, The Last of Us is a success. The Last of Us Part 2 is a success. The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered is going to be a success. The Last of Us Season 2 on HBO is going to be a success. It's a success. It's not going to not be a success. It is. But for me, the last straw comes in the form of they have one more chance for me. And that is, you guys have to come out and you have to show me something new that looks promising, that fills me with confidence in you guys as a studio. And that thing is not The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered. It's not The Last of Us Part 3. It has nothing to do with The Last of Us. And that's, to me, that's how I feel about Naughty Dog, where I'm just not, I don't want to say that I'm over The Last of Us, but it's like I kind of am. I kind of feel like I am, because it's like I wanted that Last of Us multiplayer game, and to me that was going to be where The Last of Us lives. Like, to me, I felt like this Last of Us multiplayer game is where The Last of Us is, in a way, like, not laid to rest, but it settles down. Like, this is where there are new stories told and updates, and if you ever want to experience that world again, there you go. And maybe in the future we get like a part 3. But now they're moving on this, like, they released the multiplayer game, they move on to something new. And instead what we're getting is like, okay, Last of Us Part 2 Remastered, Season 2, and I'm just, I guess what I'm trying to say is, like, I'm practically prepared to find out that the next game is actually just going to be The Last of Us Part 3. And when it is, like, maybe I'll be interested in it, depending on which direction they go in, but I get a sense that I might just feel like, no. Like this, like, I'm tired, man. Like, why isn't it something new? I'm hoping it's something new. But I said to you earlier, how do you respond to a company that, or a studio that is seemingly ignoring you? Well, I'm making it known, and I'm not saying that I'm not like, I don't want to come off as entitled, like Naughty Dog needs to listen to me. It's not just me. I know that many other fans feel this way. Many other fans feel the same way that I do, where we want something new. And we are expecting the next announcement from you to be something fucking new. Not a remaster, not a remake, not something in the Last of Us universe, something new. And for me, if it's not, I'm going to most likely end up just walking away from Naughty Dog completely, because it's like, I could tell you right now, it would be difficult for me to be excited. Truly excited for a Last of Us Part 3 right now. Maybe in the future. Like, maybe we just need a break. I need a break from The Last of Us. And then maybe a Frank and Bill spinoff game. That would be so... Dude, I would support that just because of how funny it would fucking be. Like, how just out of, like, left field, where it's like, this is what you guys wanted, right? Like, absolutely. You nailed it. But if I want a new IP from them. I want to see... Look, I want to see Neil Druckmann prove that he can properly lead Naughty Dog at this point in time. Because in my opinion, this is the first time Naughty Dog has truly hit some, I would say, some rough waters with their fan base. since The Last of Us Part 2, and it hasn't improved. And I'm not saying that there aren't fans. There are. You're saying I'm a minority. I mean, it's possible. It's possible. But the point is, like, Naughty Dog, they have a rich history of doing new things. That's what I'm saying. And Neil needs to continue that. He needs to prove that he can continue that history, not continue the history, but make sure that that's not just history, right? That is still what they do. That's what I expect to see Neil Druckmann bring to the table, because if he can't do that, then as far as I'm concerned, he has no place leading Naughty Dog. He can lead The Last of Us and direct The Last of Us, sure, but if he can't usher in something new under the Naughty Dog banner, then you need to get somebody in there that can. And I think he could. I think he will. I still have a little bit of faith. That's all. I mean, I'll tell you what, man. When I played the Last of Us for the first time, that was... I mean, I never played anything like it. You think... Rudy, you think I sound crazy? Guys, do I sound crazy? No, I mean, really, do I actually sound crazy? I don't think I sound crazy. Maybe I sound a little bit extra. A little bit extra. I don't think I sound crazy. You're saying I'm the minority? Well, see, that's why I'm willing to walk away. Just to be clear, if it's true that I am the minority and it's like it turns out that the answer I get, it's like how I see people, people build a persona and in some cases a livelihood on hating something that they once loved. And it's like, I can't do that. I could do it for a little bit if the feelings are that strong, but that, like, it's like, at what point am I like, I just want to enjoy things again? You know what I mean? Like, it's like I see people mainly with like Disney, right? Like with Star Wars and Marvel. It's like, guys, they don't care. They're not listening. Like, they're continuing to do what they want to do. At what point do you just walk away? And that's the thing, is like you build a persona that's just purely about hate. Well, then how do you think your audience is going to respond when you decide to love? How are they going to respond? They're going to be like, what is this? What? No, maybe not all the time, but it just gets to be a little overwhelming. That's all. You think because of the Last of Us TV series, you're pretty sure they're working on The Last of Us Part 3? What's love got to do with it? I guess I just mean that, like, when people begin to find entertainment in hating things, or if not hating, like disliking things, like the value is in how much we can dislike it. In my opinion, it becomes difficult to bring something to the table where it's like, but let's talk about liking this. Like, I've seen this in like the gaming news cycle, where it's like the gaming news cycles become so overwhelmingly negative, where it's like, before you know it, it's just like all you're hearing is like, here's the bad news today regarding this in gaming and that in gaming and this company and that company. It's like, I'm tired of, like, at some point it's like, come on, man, there has to be some good news, right? Doesn't have to be all dire. You're saying Disney admitted that going woke has hurt their brand? I mean, yeah, it clearly has, but it's like, as far as I can tell, it doesn't look like they plan to stop. And it depends on what you consider woke. That's a whole nother conversation. That's something I've learned recently too, is that, like, man, it's always a constant back and forth where people are always kind of changing certain definitions of things. I'm like, well, this is that, and this isn't that, and this qualifies, but this doesn't qualify. And it's like, it's whatever. MBG, you always sound crazy, bro. Maybe I do. I think I sound particularly crazy today. You're saying stop using woke. It doesn't even have a solid definition. It's just trolling at this point. I prefer not to use the term woke because I do think it's too much of an umbrella term. Like, I understand a lot of times what people mean by it, but what I prefer to do is dissect it. Like, okay, rather than like using a term to describe something, like, what is the problem? You know what I mean? Because I do think there certainly are problems in a lot of these things. But I prefer when it's like examined thoroughly, where like this is the problem and here's why it's a problem and here's a potential solution. You know what I mean? I understand though that that's just the way things go. A lot of times people just prefer to use umbrella terms. It's just easier to communicate yourself that way. No, Leia, no. Come on. Leia, please, no. Oh, no, come on. No. Leia. Oh, no. Oh. Oh, Leia just vomited all over my carpet. Damn it. Damn it. I tried to get to her in time to move her to the other room on like on the hardwood floor. Leia, are you sick? Ah, well, now this is awkward because like I feel like I gotta take care of this. I can't just let it sit there. Yeah. Oh, that's not good. You know what? It doesn't even look like a hairball either. Yeah, I'll be right back. All right, guys. Luckily, Mrs. MBG is to the rescue. She offered to come clean it up, which is very nice of her. Um, Chair time. I like that, dude. I swear that just came out of nowhere. I don't know if she's sick or not. I don't think she's sick. It probably was a hairball, but it just came out of nowhere. But MBG's being too reasonable today. We need to hype him up. Now boss is causing chaos. Come on, man. My cats are going nuts. It gave her the flu. MBG, dude, you let your sick wife clean up the mess. Dude, no, she was already out there waiting. I literally was going to grab the stuff to clean it. She's like, no, I'll take care of it. So, somebody's asking actually why he changed his name. Why did you change your name, actually? Do you need me to come help? All right. Dude, my cats do cause quite a bit of chaos when I'm streaming. Like, it depends on the day, really. Like, sometimes they are perfectly fine and they're just sleeping the entire time. But other times they are just totally all over the place, biting wires, fighting each other. In the case of today, puking in the farmost corner of the bedroom on the carpet. Why do they want to chew my wire? I don't know. They like chewing. I think that's a pretty common thing with animals, especially cats. Like, they just like to chew the wires. I don't think they're actually eating them. They just like to try to bite through them. Yeah, and it's actually Mrs. MBG is saying it's only boss. I don't know if that's true. I swear I've caught Leia doing it too. I swear. She's insisting it's just boss. Maybe it is. Yeah. Yeah, Leia likes to scratch the carpet. Leia just came in. She's like, what's going on? All right. Actually, you're saying change is good once in a while. Plus, Trismegistus is a badass name. That means thrice is great. it's also an homage to my game of the year, Eliza P. That's a good reason. Yeah, that's makes sense. Well, I do want to transition to what will probably be the final topic. Well, no, I have two more. Believe it or not, I still have. It's fine now. All right. Might want to get the snacks or something. I don't know. I do still have. Oh my god! No way! No way! Oh my god! That shit is funny. Mrs. MBG was just trying to get Leia out of the bedroom, and she wasn't like Leia was ignoring her, and so she just tried chasing her out of the room. But as she was chasing her out of the room, Boss like just I guess turned the corner and was just trying to enter the room, and I guess all he saw was Mrs. MBG just like running full speed at him, and I just saw his face for 3 seconds. He was like dude, that cat looked like he was about to. He saw his 9 lives at this point, probably 7 lives flash before his eyes. I'm sorry, that was just very unexpected. Anyway, guys, let me get back on track here. So there are 2 more topics I want to talk to you guys about today. One of the topics is Helldivers 2. I want to have a discussion about Helldivers 2, but there's also some news regarding it. And then we're also going to talk a little bit about Sony's mobile plan because I have an interesting article here from Push Square. So we're going to start here with Helldivers 2. I wanted to go over this with you. There was a blog post regarding Helldivers 2 on the official PlayStation blog. They reiterate that the game is releasing February 8th. May not seem like a big deal, but for some reason at CES, Sony accidentally put a typo saying that Helldivers 2 is releasing February 28th, prompting some people to believe that it suffered a delay by a couple weeks, which would have been horrible. Like, I thought for sure that had to be a mistake because I'm like, you're going to delay Helldivers 2 to release the day before Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. No way. And I'm glad that I was correct in assuming that it was wrong because they reiterate February 8th. They say, we know it's been a long time, but it's finally time to reveal more about the PC release of Helldivers 2. We know what's on your mind first and foremost. Is it crossplay? We are pleased to announce that Helldivers 2 supports crossplay. That means your teammates on PC can play with you on PS5 and vice versa. Community and teamwork are the most important pillars of Helldivers 2, and so it is essential to ensure players can work together regardless of the systems they choose to use. Together, we can celebrate victories, mourn losses, and liberate the galaxy without platform boundaries. As part of this announcement, we're finally able to provide you with the minimum recommended performance and ultra system specifications for PC players to ensure that no matter what kind of equipment your squad uses to play, PS5 or PC, with a broad range of supported PC hardware, you'll be able to spread managed democracy together. So looking at the PC specs chart, if you want to play with the minimum specs you need to play, 1080p 30 frames per second, graphics presets low. You need a NVIDIA GeForce GTX 1050 Ti or AMD Radeon RX 470 at minimum. CPU, Intel Core i7 4790K or AMD Ryzen 5 1500X. RAM, 8 gigabytes DDR4. Operating system, Windows 10 64-bit. Storage, 100 gigabyte hard disk drive. If you want to play at the ultra settings, so on the polar opposite, at 4K 60 frames per second, graphics settings very high, you need an NVIDIA GeForce RTX 4070 Ti or AMD Radeon RX 7900 XTX. CPU, Intel Core i5 12600K or AMD Ryzen 5800X 3D. RAM, 16 gigabytes of DDR4 and a 100 gigabyte SSD. So, yeah, couple things here. So I don't know, I wanted to ask you guys when it comes to the PC side for the specs for Helldivers 2, because Helldivers 2 is fascinating because this is really, I think, the first time we're seeing Sony take one of their games and launch it like day one on PC alongside the PlayStation console. You're saying that's not bad for 4K? Dan is saying that's a pretty beefy requirement. That's kind of what I thought. I thought that was like kind of high up there. At least it seemed that way to me. Where I'm like, that's I don't think my PC could run this at 4K 60. But below that, they have a performance 1440p at 60 frames, graphics settings high, NVIDIA GeForce RTX 3070 or AMD Radeon RX 6800. Same CPU specs, same RAM. So just basically the GPU changes there. Is the SSD required? Let me see. So it seems like the recommended specs say 100 gigabyte SSD. So I'm assuming that means that it's required to hit the recommended specs. Performance specs, 100 gigabyte SSD minimum, and ultra same thing. So yeah, I'm assuming from recommended and higher you do need an SSD, but the game can run without it. Saying the minimum specs are reasonable and the mid specs are probably fine too. Well, another thing I wanted to mention here is they emphasize crossplay. I've seen some interesting takes on this where I saw some people saying that, like, I guess they're planning on playing on PlayStation and they're like, I'm immediately turning crossplay off. And I don't understand why you would turn crossplay off with PC for Helldivers 2, considering it's a co-op game. You know, like if there was any competitive nature to it, I could understand that, but I'm not planning on, like, maybe if you're worried about cheaters or something like that, I guess that's as far as I could understand it, but yeah, that would make sense. There is friendly fire though. Oh yeah. Wow, why did I forget that? Yeah, there is friendly fire. But I mean, I get that still doesn't really make much of a difference. No one wants hack trophies if the PC player pops it. That's interesting. I didn't consider that either. I don't plan on turning off crossplay. Like, unless I find a reason to turn it off. Now, if there was a competitive aspect to this game, PvP, yeah, I would turn crossplay off in that case. But there's something else about the situation with Helldivers 2 that I saw people talking about. So at the bottom here, it says PlayStation Network account required. So I'm assuming that requirement is for both PC and PS5. Gameplay requires internet access and paid for PlayStation Plus membership for PS5. So yeah, if you're an Xbox player, this isn't new to you. No, if you are playing Helldivers 2 on PC, you do not need a PlayStation Plus subscription. If you are playing on the PlayStation 5, you do need a PlayStation Plus subscription. And this is, like, I'm saying if you're an Xbox player, this isn't new to you, because I remember running into this problem with Xbox years ago where the same thing happened, where people were like, well, now that you're releasing all your games on PC, the multiplayer ones, you're telling console players that we still have to pay for Xbox Live Gold. And this is just the way it sucks, dude. Like, this is what frustrates me about PlayStation Plus and Xbox Live and shit like this, where it's like, dude, we shouldn't have to pay to play multiplayer games. It's bullshit. It just is. Especially games like this where there is going to be crossplay. Like, it fucking makes no sense. But at the same time, like, I know that no amount of bitching or complaining I do is going to change that. I hate to say that, but it's like, if I thought there was any chance that Sony would change their mind on this, or both Sony and Microsoft, but they're not. It's just part of the console experience, and to me, this is one of the shittier, if not the shittiest part of the console experience, where, you know, I think Sony trying to convince people to subscribe to PlayStation Plus Essential for their monthly games and extra and premium is fine. But this is why when this is worth bringing up here with this conversation. This is why when Sony announced that they were increasing the price of PS Plus last year, I really was saying that, like, oh my God, could you at least offer like a lower tier that's not $80 a year? Because that for a lot of people playing on PS5, that's how much you're paying just to play online games. And that sucks. And I'm going to say this, and I said this, at least I think I said this for Xbox, and I'm going to say it for PlayStation as well. All right? Because it's the truth. By both Sony and Microsoft doing this, but in this case now it's Sony with Helldivers 2, you're making the PC look more appealing by the day. That's all. I just think that's problematic for your own console. I think that's problematic for your own priority here, which is like, if your priority is to sell consoles, you just gave people. And I don't know that a lot of people are going to care. I think if I had to guess, most people are not going to care. But it's like, it's just not a good look. You are telling PC players that, hey, if you buy our game on your PC, you get to save money. You don't have to pay us to play online. But if you buy our console to play our game, you're going to have to pay us more money. That's true, too. You're saying PC is more expensive, to be fair. Yeah, I guess that's true. I don't know that justifies it necessarily, but it just sucks, man. Like, I just feel like it's a mistake on Sony's part, where it's like, if this game was just releasing on PS5, this wouldn't be a conversation. Like, okay, yeah, we have to pay to play online. But the fact that it's like day one on PC and crossplay, it's like, come on, man. Come on. Saying nobody cares. Yeah. That's the truth. Honestly. That's the truth. And somebody, you might run into somebody on the internet that'll say, see, you're part of the problem. It's like, no, dude. Just people don't care. Like, I could fucking rage against my PlayStation 5 all day and sell that shit and never give Sony a dime for PlayStation Plus. It's not going to stop all the other people from being like, yeah, I'm just going to buy this game on my PS5 and pay for PS Plus and play it. It's not going to change anything. But that's where it's like, I would say this. If you really have a problem with this and you don't want to pay to play online, you should get it on PC. I already have PS Plus, and I want to get a physical PS5 version, so it's fine. But I've seen, it's like I see people on the internet like complaining, like directly adding Herman Holst and Sony, and I get it, I get it. But they're not going to answer you, man. Like, just get it on PC. That's how you send the strongest message you can to Sony. It's in your actions, not by adding them. I mean, it's nothing. There's nothing wrong with that. Maybe they'll see what you have to say, but I doubt it. Arnie Vesper says, I'm way behind, but I want to say Happy New Year, Mr. and Mrs. MBG. Well, Arnie Vesper, Happy New Year to you as well, man. I appreciate that. Appreciate all the support, bud. Yeah, so you're saying PS Plus is a tethered cost to online. You also pay to access thousands of games. Yeah, I get that. I don't know, man. I really wonder how many millions of PS Plus subscribers Sony would lose if they dropped the online requirement for with PS Plus. Like, would it be like 3 million? Would it be like 20 million? Would it be that severe? A lot. Yeah, and that's why I know it'll never change. Like, they'll never remove that, because it's like that's the easiest money they're making. That's the easiest money they're making. So it's, and I'll say, if I was Sony, fuck, I'm not removing online. If I'm raking in that money quarter after quarter, yeah, shit. Why not? It's free money for them, basically. But it still sucks, But I want to I want to talk a little bit more about Helldivers 2, and I just want to gauge you guys on this. And I'm actually going to put out a poll. I meant to put this out earlier. All right, so vote on this poll. I'm asking, are you playing Helldivers 2? Yes, no, or not sure yet. I want to talk about Helldivers 2 because this is a game that to me looks really fun. I will say this new trailer that they put out. I don't know how many of you guys saw this trailer, but it it highlights the gameplay once again, and I think it's looking really good. I'm not expecting Helldivers 2 to be like a game of the year contender. I'm not expecting it to be a game that makes me feel like, oh my God, this is like the best multiplayer game I've ever experienced. But I am expecting it to be something very fun. Like that's the sense I get from a game like Helldivers 2. It's a $40 game. It's worth noting. So it's not like a full 70. And my expectation for it is when I play it, I'm going to, obviously play it with my friends. Hopefully, I'll see if Mrs. MBG wants to get in on it. And I'm just assuming it'll be fun. Like it'll just be a good time, and it's a game I would like to platinum, like I said. But the big thing for me on Helldivers 2 that really sold me on it. I never played the first Helldivers. One of the biggest reasons I avoided the first Helldivers was just like when I came across it later on, like well after it launched, and I was just like, I'm not interested. It was the top-down view, kind of had that arcade look, that arcadey look to it. And I know that's not the, I know it was still a good game, but it just for some reason that just kind of turned me off to it. And I was really hoping that when I heard there was a sequel, I'm like, I really, really, really hope they make it like a full blown over the shoulder third person shooter. And they did that. And I think the game looks incredible because of it. Like I think it really looks I mean it's kind of funny to think about how much the camera angle and perspective can change a game and your how you perceive a game, but man, Helldivers 2 looks pretty solid. And I know it's not going to be a game that lights the world on fire. I don't think that this is going to be a game that is going to do like huge numbers for PlayStation. One of the things that has bothered me though is I've seen this game getting like some unnecessary hate from people. Not a lot, but just like, again, like that toxic part of the internet where it's like people who are excited for it, you get the console warriors coming out and being like, LOL, that game's going to be a flop and no one cares about that game and blah, blah, blah. It's like, screw you, like this game looks pretty good. I think like it looks like it's going to have at least some audience. I think it looks pretty good. I do. Maybe I'll be wrong. Maybe it'll flop. Maybe it'll be bad, but I've liked everything I've seen of the gameplay. It really gives me that like Starship Troopers vibe. But I can also understand how for PlayStation players, a lot of PlayStation players, this might not be their cup of tea, right? Especially at a time like this. A lot of PlayStation players are like, oh, well, I want to see some more first party single player games. Didn't really ask for Helldivers 2. I get it. But I have high hopes for it, or at least decent hopes for it. So right now there's 100 votes. 41% of you are saying yes, you're playing it. 34% saying no. 25% saying not sure yet. For those who are not sure yet, is it because you're waiting for reviews or you want like a more in-depth look at the gameplay and the systems? When is Foam Stars coming out? It doesn't have a release date yet, but I think it's going to come out in the next couple months, I think. Unknown, you're saying you're waiting to see the trophy list. I feel you on that one. I'm going to play it no matter what. Like, even if I can't platinum it, I'm still going to play it, but I'm not going to lie. Like, if this game has a really shitty trophy list, it's going to damper my excitement a bit. You're currently unemployed. You got to be choosy. Well, yeah, that makes sense. Wait, Dominic says he's waiting for the reviews. MBG, you'll be good at Helldivers. You killed a lot of bugs, wasps, and that gnat last year. That's true. That's true. I've been training for this game. My whole concern with Helldivers 2 is, man, like, I want to get into it. Like I do, I want this to be a game I get into and see how long I can stay into it, like playing it. But it is coming out in a really busy month. The maps do look pretty large in Helldivers 2. They do. Like I didn't actually think of that, but the maps, like, you know, you're basically on a planet. It does look pretty big. Supremacy 101 with a $5 super chat. He says PlayStation Plus is a buffer to risks. Besides, most of the free-to-play games don't require it for online play on PlayStation, but PS5 is designed in a way that you do need it. Yeah, I mean, I get that. I've seen people say that PlayStation Plus is kind of like, it ensures that they can keep like cheaters and hackers like off or less prominent. I don't know if I believe that or not, but I don't know. It like, again, man, if it wasn't launching on PC and they're basically saying like PC players don't have to pay for that to play online, it would be different. But it's just a bad look in my opinion, no matter what. But it is what it is. What are you gonna do? I guess you could just not play on PlayStation, of course. Um, Hey MBG, well, you don't have to spam that. Please stop the spam. I'll answer. I was gonna answer your question, but now I'm thinking about not because you're spamming it. Let me see what you said, and I'll decide if I want to answer it. I don't like the spam, bro. Let me see. He says, you're saying why are you open to all Sony games and not open to Xbox games? You say games can bring you to Xbox. How can that be possible if you're not open to it preconditionally? Well, I first off, I condemn the spamming, but it's a pretty good question. You know what it comes down to, man? It comes down to the investment and the metagame. As shitty as that may sound, but it's just the truth. Where like I've invested so much time and money and effort into trophy hunting on PlayStation that it's just naturally easier for me to consider games on PlayStation that I otherwise wouldn't. So a good example of this would be, let's say, I'm trying to think of like a game that I normally would just completely ignore, but I may end up trying on PlayStation this year. I'm having trouble thinking of it. Fuck, man, I don't know. Because Helldivers 2, I will say this: if Helldivers 2 was an Xbox game, it would have my attention because I'd be like, that actually looks kind of fun. I'd probably give it a shot. Foam, yeah, I guess Foam. See, the thing is, I have no idea if I'm actually going to play Foam Stars, but we could just use Foam Stars for the fuck of it, right? Like Foam Stars, it doesn't appeal to me at all, but it's dropping on PS. I don't know if I can use Foam Stars because I don't know if I'm going to play that. But I guess here's what I'm trying to say. I'm just trying to say, man, that like, let's take a game like Avowed, okay? Avowed is an Xbox title that a lot of people are very excited about, and a lot of Xbox fans are very excited about. So like one of the bigger exclusives that they're rallying behind. I was not interested in Avowed from the time it was announced until now. I'm just not interested in it. And I don't want to say that if Avowed was releasing on PlayStation as a PS5 exclusive, I'm not going to sit here and front and pretend that I would just completely shun it and pretend that like I have zero interest. The way I would have to approach it is pretty simple because there are PlayStation games that I do take this approach to. It's that this is not a game that normally speaks to me and maybe isn't speaking to me, but it's launching on the platform that I play on, and Sony wrangled it in. Sony thought that this would be good for PS5 players to, you know what game I did that to? Um, Actually, I did that with Deathloop, and I was right. My gut instinct about Deathloop was correct. My gut instinct with Deathloop was this is not a game I'm interested in. It's just not. But it was a PS5 exclusive. I got roped up in that godforsaken marketing cycle by Sony. Deathloop, 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 play Deathloop, play Deathloop. Fine, Sony, I'll fucking play it. But I did. I gave it a shot. And I gave it a shot because it was a PS5 exclusive, right? Because Sony roped it in. And I was like, I don't like this, just isn't doing it for me. I don't like this game. And so I just passed on it. But another game that happened to was Ghostwire Tokyo. I wasn't that interested in Ghostwire Tokyo when I first saw it, and my interest kind of started increasing a little bit more the more I saw of it. And I played it, and I actually discovered, I'm like, I actually really like this game. Ghostwire Tokyo is actually a really fun game, and it's not like phenomenal, but it was solid. I enjoyed it more than I thought I would. And I can also admit that like it was because it was a PS5 exclusive that I was like, I'll give it a shot. But it's much more difficult for me to take that same approach with an ecosystem that I'm not invested in. And that's why, like, somebody might ask the question, so you're telling me that Sony or that Microsoft has to do more than Sony would have to do to pique your interest? And the answer is yes, because I'm already invested in the PlayStation ecosystem. Like, that's where I play. Basically, all Sony has to do is if they just drop the game in front of me, there's a good chance I'll pay attention to it. But if a competing ecosystem and platform that I am not putting time or money into, and I'm not playing the metagame, like I'm playing the metagame on PlayStation. I care about getting platinum trophies. You guys know this. I don't unlock achievements on Xbox. I used to at one point, but I had to choose trophies, achievements. Which one you want to focus on? I focus on trophies. So it is a bit of a conundrum for me in the sense that I will say this. Because Game Pass exists in the way that it does, where a game like Avowed will be on Game Pass, if I do choose, when I go to play Hellblade, if I choose to play it by subscribing to Game Pass, that could be my conduit, right? Like that could be my way to just be like, well, I'll just try these games. The reason why I haven't done that now is because honestly, just I have not seen a game from Microsoft that made me want to do that. There hasn't been a strong enough pull. For a lot of people, that game was Starfield, not for me. For a lot of people, that game was Halo, not for me, because I just don't care for Halo in that way. To be honest, this generation, Microsoft hasn't put out something that made me go like, okay, you got me. Like, you got me. You hooked me. And you reeled me in. But now that is seemingly changing. Where, like, again, it's like when Hi-Fi Rush Shadow dropped. I know a lot of people were excited about that, but I was just like, I'm good. That's not going to be the game that does it. That's not going to be the game that brings me back to Xbox. It's just not. Even though apparently it's really good, and even if it comes to PlayStation, I don't know that I'm going to play it. Maybe one day I will. But just right now, it's just not something that's on my radar. And maybe to some people, that is what makes me a PlayStation fanboy, where it's like, well, you're so willing to do this or that for PlayStation, but unwilling for other platforms. And it's just again, man, it comes down to investment of time and money and trophy hunting. And it's, I care about my profile to a certain extent, where it's like I look at how many platinum trophies I have, like, oh, I got 35. I would like to get to 50. it is weird. Like, even right now, I'm thinking when I do play Hellblade, am I gonna be that way with Hellblade? Am I gonna try to get every achievement? I mean, maybe. I don't know. And this is what fascinates me about the idea of Xbox. See, this is why I think Microsoft is actually making a pretty smart move if they do bring some of their older games to PlayStation, because like I told you guys that the first thing that popped in my mind is like, hold on, Sea of Thieves with trophies? You could platinum Sea of Thieves potentially? That's so fascinating to me. Where I'm not saying that that's a game that I would platinum or even play, but it's like that's like that changes the game for me, you know, in a sense. Um, but it just adds a little something to it that I'm invested in. But yeah, it's a good question. But maybe it comes down to like I just have to get the initial I have to get my foot in the door, and then from that point it'll be easier going forward. Like I said, I don't subscribe to Game Pass. I haven't dabbled with it, but maybe if I do for Hellblade and I'm like, this is actually pretty easy, I can subscribe and unsubscribe when I want. And if there are games I just want to try out for the sake of it, but a game like Avowed, if Avowed was exclusive to PS5, would it be easier for me to consider it? Well, yeah, because I don't have to move from where I am. Like I could just, I would, hey, what's the trophy list look like? You know, like, is this gameplay going to appeal to me at all? Is this something that I'm going to want to squeeze in there with all the other titles I'm planning on playing on my PS5? It would just be overall easier for me to do that. But it's not. It's on a completely different ecosystem that I'm just not there with. And so when I have to think to myself, like, is this a game that I really want to play? If the answer to that is maybe, maybe not, that, and then you add into that, well, like, okay, well, I guess now you gotta, then you would have to go, get Game Pass on your PC and get into PC gaming, or even buy an Xbox or something. It's like, well, maybe not. I don't know that this is the game I'm gonna do all that for. So hopefully that makes sense. I guess it kind of comes down to leaving your comfort zone in a way. I just want to make sure that when I do, it's for a game that I am sure like it will be worth it for. And for me, that game is Hellblade, certainly. So, because like when I did that for PlayStation, dude, like it was not for Helldivers 1. It was not for any smaller. It was for games like The Last of Us and God of War. It was like really the big juggernaut titles. I was like, holy shit. Okay, let's go. Let's give it a try. Sony's way of keeping people on PlayStation is working on MBG. It is, man. I gotta admit, it is. And I get that maybe for some people they might still think like, oh, that's just fanboy, bro. Like it's not that hard. It's like it's not that it's difficult. It's just a matter of willingness, and it's different for everybody. It's different for everybody. But I have another super chat here from you're saying really quick. You're saying at that point, is it really gaming or a job? Is it then fun? It's a fair question. I mean, I think about that too sometimes. Like it, I guess it's just an individualistic thing where it's like for me, the meta game and the trophy hunting and stuff like that, it does keep me way more engaged with the PlayStation ecosystem than I otherwise would be. If trophies didn't exist on PlayStation, and there were times where I kind of wish they didn't, because it would just be interesting and make things simpler, I guess. If trophies didn't exist on PlayStation, like it would probably be a lot easier for me to feel less invested, because I'm not buying games digitally on this ecosystem, but I do buy my games physically as well. I mean, I have my physical games collection for PS5 and like that. It's stuff like that that makes me feel like I am tethered to this. It's willingly, but like I am tethered to it, where doing anything outside of PlayStation, whether that's going to play an Xbox game on Game Pass, on a PC, on an Xbox, or whether that's getting the next iteration of the Switch, that to me feels like auxiliary, you know? And that's why I say, like, this is why that's why I was kind of making fun of the whole idea of like going neutral and being a fake neutral and whatnot. Cause it's like, no, like, like for me, this is truly my preference and where I am invested and where I like to play. And it would take a fucking lot, truthfully. Like, it would take so much for me to just be like, I'm done here now. And I'm just going to go somewhere else. It would take a lot. It's not impossible, but Sony would really have to fuck up like big time to make that happen. Well, basically, the biggest thing that have to fuck up is leave me high and dry with no games to play for a long enough period of time, and yeah, I'll move on. But luckily, that's not a problem. And so yeah, it's an interesting thing. I think that some people can relate to what I just said. I think other people are like, I don't feel that way at all. That's kind of strange. But again, everybody has their own way of interacting with video games, with consoles, with ecosystems, with the different platforms. And I'm not here to say which one is best for you, just which one works for me. So, we got Supremacy 101. He says with another $5 super chat, PS Plus is a buffer to financial risks. PS3 nearly killed Sony back when it was free. It wasn't viable to keep it free. Believe me, no one wants to pay a fee. Well, yeah, I mean, again, going over all of Sony's financial stuff with the Insomniac hack, it's like, it's not that they aren't making good money, as we've established, they are. It's just the profit margins are not growing and they're actually kind of shrinking. And I imagine at this point in time, now more than ever, that money that Sony gets from PlayStation Plus is vital, to where it's like, we need this. It's not great, like you say, like you're saying, no one wants to pay a fee. It's true, but it's fascinating to me, because to me, what it comes down to is it's almost like with the simplistic nature of a console, I'm not saying it justifies it, but it makes it easier, I think, for like Sony and Microsoft to be like, well, you got to pay for this, right? Because it's like, it's not an expensive, complicated PC. It's just a streamlined, cheaper console alternative that you just plug and play. And the only other barrier is you need to pay this fee to play online. And when you think about why a lot of people play on game consoles, it's for that reason. It's simpler, it's easier. And you could just kind of see these companies taking advantage of that, where it's like, okay, well, when a person is faced with, and you got to pay this fee to access online and you get some free games, right? You could see it like, oh, okay, well, just pay the fee. So, Ghetto God, you're saying you unsubbed from PS Plus after the price hike? You're not the only one. And that's what I suggested. Like, if it's just too much for you and it seems too unfair, just unsub. Generic white male, you're saying acid and Liza P is chef's kiss. Yes, absolutely. Acid builds in Liza P are very effective, I think, like in my experience. So if you're playing Liza P, I highly recommend an acid build with a lot of advance. But yeah, so I think that basically does it for my conversation about Helldivers 2. I want to move on to this final topic. It's being reported by Push Square, and they say, here's why Sony is making big moves in the mobile game sector. New data revealing the highest grossing mobile games of 2023 has made it plain to see why Sony is taking strides into the sector in search of its own piece of the pie. Companies like Tencent are making just shy of $5 billion per year from their mobile games alone, with Honor of Kings and PUBG Mobile both making $1 billion each last year. HoYoverse, the team behind Genshin Impact and Honkai Star Rail, then grossed $1.7 billion from the two titles' mobile versions alone in 2023. To try and carve out its own audience in mobile, Sony appears first to be making a Horizon MMO for smartphones with the help of NCSoft, which it recently announced a strategic partnership with. They have already seen a few failed efforts like Run Sackboy Run and Ultimate Sackboy, but having acquired Neon Koi, formerly Savage Game Studios, and signed up Apple Arcade executive for the push, it's where so this article actually failed to acknowledge that person that Sony hired um, signed up Apple Arcade executives. At least one of the major executives they hired from Apple departed. So he's not there anymore. But yeah, I just wanted to briefly mention this because we're looking at these numbers here. I know you guys can't see them, but yeah, these games are fucking murdering. I mean, just raking in the dough, man. And you can see why Sony, especially now knowing that Microsoft has King, you can see why Sony is looking at this and they're like, holy shit, we could use that. How do we get involved? Like, you can kind of understand why Sony, they're like one of the biggest game makers in the world. I imagine if you're a huge video game maker, one of the most prominent in the world, I could understand why you would think, of course, we should have at least one successful mobile game. So I'm not against it. I don't care about mobile gaming, but I hope this Horizon MMO succeeds for them. I do. Like, I hope that, because if it does, then they don't have to really worry about other mobile games. Like, they can just make that the game that they focus on mobile wise. I just don't want to see it become like a thing where it's like they just keep throwing it at the wall and like nothing sticks and they keep wasting their time and money and they're just spinning their wheels. But yeah, I wanted to be sure to just mention that, guys. The data for these mobile games: Honor of Kings 1.4 billion, PUBG Mobile 1.1 billion, Candy Crush Saga $956 million, Genshin Impact 943 million, Roblox 868 million, and it just continues. And yeah, man, Sony absolutely wants a piece of that pie. But with that being said, guys, I think that's going to cover it. So there were other smaller topics I wanted to mention today, but they're honestly not that important, and I did cover them in my last video. So just went on a lot of different tirades today, went in a lot of different directions, and I have to thank you guys for hearing me out, because sometimes it does come off as a bit loopy, I'm just kind of going on and on here. But yeah, this is where I'm going to end this stream. PS Gamer, you're saying MBG before you go. Is there something you have to say? I want to thank you guys for all the support. We have 11 members today, which is great to see. I am doing a members lounge. Saying I was grumpy at first, but I'm a little bit better. Yeah, I got more caffeine in me, but I'm going to do a members lounge. We'll see how long I can do that members lounge for. I do owe it to you guys, but I gotta check on Mrs. MBG, see how she's feeling. Let me see. I'm gonna end this poll. But yeah, thank you guys for all the super chats. Thank you for all of your support. I'm only able to do this because of the support that you guys show. So again, thank you so much. I also want to give a shout out to Devil Shooter. He does the timestamps. If you guys see him in the comments, be sure to give him a big thank you. Devil Shooter, appreciate all the hard work you do on the channel here. You're saying you really want me to try Prince of Persia? We'll see. Again, can't make any promises. So yeah, the poll results for Helldivers 2, 39% saying no, they're not planning on playing it. 32% say yes, 27% say not sure. That's based off of about 200 votes. So, all right, guys, that does it. Look out for the members lounge. It's going to go up in just a little bit. So for all my members that are going to join me, I'll see you there. For everybody else, I'll see you guys in the next one. So until next time, guys, take care.